Chapter 235. There were quite a lot of soul masters in the Seven Treasures Glaze sect. Although most of them were branch disciples, their auxiliary abilities were still undeniable. Moreover, most of the soul masters who were active outside were around rank 50. On the other hand, the genius soul masters of their academy would only be around 50 years old after they graduated. If they were to wander outside at this time, many problems could be solved with the help of an auxiliary-type soul master from the Seven Treasures Glaze sect. To Tang San and the others, this was considered a rather good gift. They were all very happy. Ning Fengji smiled and said, "If you have time, you can come to our Seven Treasures Glaze sect with Rong Rong to play. If you graduate in the future, the doors of the Seven Treasures Glaze sect will always be open to you." Hearing this, Flanders thought to himself, "This Ning Fengji is really bold." As expected of the sect master of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, he has already begun to rope in Tang San and the others. It was obvious that Tang San and the others were geniuses. As long as one knew their age and soul power rank, any soul master would know how powerful they were. However, Flanders was still amazed that Ning Fengji could pull down his face to personally rope them in. After all, the gap between the two sides was too big. One was a strong person with the status of a titled Douluo, while the other was only a soul ancestor. No matter how talented they were, they didn't have such a big face. Douluo was the best example. He knew that Tang San and the others were geniuses, but he still didn't take them seriously. So what if they were geniuses? In the future, their achievements wouldn't just be a titled Douluo. Could they become gods? It seems that Sect Master Ning values Tang San and the others very much. However, there's still a long time before they graduate, so there's no need to rush this matter. Flanders smiled. "It's okay." Ning Fengji smiled and didn't say much. Just as he was about to talk to Tang San alone, a teacher ran in. "Dean, His Highness the Crown Prince is here." This sentence surprised everyone in the reception hall. Obviously, they didn't expect this at all. In the 1 or 2 seconds that they were stunned, Xue Qinghe had already walked into the reception hall. He didn't even announce his arrival and looked very anxious. "Dean Flanders, please forgive me for my sudden nagging." Just as he finished speaking, Xue Qinghe was stunned because he saw Ning Fengji and Dusty Heart on the other side. He hurriedly walked over and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, teacher." "Greetings, Your Highness Dusty Heart." "Qinghe, why are you here?" Ning Fengji asked doubtfully. As Xue Qinghe's teacher, he had taught Xue Qinghe for 5 to 6 years. The two of them were quite familiar with each other. "I'm here to look for someone. His name is Lin Feng. He's a member of the Shrek Academy." If it was in the past, Xue Qinghe might not have said it, and might even find an excuse to cover it up. After all, as the Crown Prince, coming to look for a student alone was too out of line. What would the nobles of the Empire think? However, he couldn't care less now. He had almost lost his life. Xue Qinghe had already seen through some things. He didn't want to live like what others wanted him to live. Now that he was free from Shadow Wheel surveillance, he had to follow his heart. For example, this Thanos who had troubled him for many years. He had to find out what was going on. "You're here to look for him too?" Ning Fengji's expression was slightly strange. It seemed like this Lin Feng was quite famous. Even the Crown Prince was looking for him. This time, Ning Fengji and Dusty Heart were even more curious about Lin Feng. They wanted to see him very much. "Teacher is looking for him too?" Xue Qinghe was also stunned. Ning Fengji and Dusty Heart's appearance here was already enough to surprise him. Now, they were looking for the same person. Why? Xue Qinghe felt that the information he received was somewhat lacking. He must have discovered something that he didn't know. Otherwise, Ning Fengji wouldn't have brought Dusty Heart here. "Your Highness, I'm really sorry. Lin Feng isn't in the academy at the moment." Flanders hurriedly told him the news. "It's fine. I can wait," Xue Qinghe said subconsciously. Everyone was speechless. Today was really strange. First, the sect master of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect was here. Now, the Crown Prince was here. Both parties were here to look for Lin Feng and were willing to wait. This Feng Ji's reputation was too great. Everyone exclaimed that Lin Feng was amazing. Ma Hongjun was even more envious. If he could have such treatment one day, he would wake up laughing in his dreams. However, it was unfortunate that Lin Feng, whom both parties were looking for, was not in the academy. Although it was awkward, Xue Qinghe was indeed a professional spy. He quickly handled this situation in an orderly manner. The atmosphere became relaxed. In the end, Ning Fengji and Tang San went to a private room while Xue Qinghe stayed in the hall to inquire about Lin Feng. The excuse he used was Thanos. According to Xue Qinghe, one of his subordinates met Thanos in the forest and something happened. Then, Thanos mentioned Lin Feng, so he came to look for Lin Feng personally. This excuse was not bad because not many people knew about the relationship between Thanos and Lin Feng. Everyone believed it without a doubt. However, Xue Qinghe soon found out that Lin Feng would not be back for a few days. This made him very uncomfortable. However, he continued to talk to them with a smile. After saying that he would come again next time, he left. It did not matter if he was not around. Xue Qinghe sent people to keep an eye on the Shrek Academy. As soon as Lin Feng appeared, he would come over. Taking advantage of this gap, he went to subdue some of the clans that he had secretly contacted. In the private room, Ning Fengji and Tang San started talking. The first thing to talk about was not the hidden weapons. Ning Fengji was more concerned about the immortal medicine, since it could allow Ning Rongrong's martial soul to evolve. What about him? Therefore, Ning Fengji was very concerned about this. The first thing he asked was whether Tang San still had the immortal medicine. Regarding this question, Tang San and Lin Feng had discussed it before. They all said that there was no more. Although Ning Fengji was disappointed when he found out, he was already mentally prepared. This kind of opportunity was too heaven-defying, so he did not force it. Next, they talked about the hidden weapons. Were there any stronger hidden weapons? How about the production? Could the technology be sold? To this, Tang San's answer was that there were stronger hidden weapons. However, the materials used to create them were very precious and difficult to find. Moreover, they cannot be mass-produced. As for the technology, that was Tang San's lifeblood. How could he sell it? He immediately rejected it. At most, he could only tell Ning Fengji the manufacturing method of some parts and let them produce it. In the end, he would assemble it himself. In the end, although the situation was not what Ning Fengji had expected, the two sides still came to an agreement. This was also thanks to Ning Rongrong, who pulled the two sides together. Otherwise, according to Tang San's thoughts, Ning Fengji would be an outsider. Not to mention high-level hidden weapons, he would not even give him a silent sleeve arrow. Chapter 236. After discussing the cooperation, the next thing Ning Fengji wanted to do was the most important thing for this trip. That was to invite Tang San to join the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Of course, Lin Feng was also invited. He even promised to betroth Ning Rongrong to Lin Feng. After all, Ning Rongrong was also interested in Lin Feng. Ning Fengji agreed to this marriage. But unfortunately, Lin Feng wasn't around, so he could only invite Tang San first. If Tang San joined, Lin Feng and Xiao would be easier to rope in. That's right, among the few people from Shrek, he paid the most attention to these three siblings. He knew from Ning Rongrong that it was because of this Lin Feng that they were so strong. Even a master wasn't as useful as Lin Feng. Lin Feng inspired all of them and also grasped many things. Ning Fengji even heard a very high evaluation from Ning Rongrong. Whoever gets Lin Feng will get the continent. As they had promised to keep it a secret, Ning Rongrong didn't tell her father in detail. But to give such an evaluation, it was enough to show how important Lin Feng was. Ning Rongrong came from the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, so she still had this insight. Because of this evaluation, Ning Fengji also thought highly of Lin Feng and felt that waiting for a few days was worth it. As for Tang San, he promised many benefits in this invitation. Even Dusty Heart said on the spot that if they met with trouble, he could ask him to help once. However, Tang San wasn't interested. His dream was to bring glory to the Tang sect in this world, and he wouldn't join other sections. So he directly rejected Ning Fengji's invitation. Ning Fengji didn't force him. It didn't matter if he failed this time. As long as he didn't leave a bad impression, there would still be chances next time. In any case, Ning Fengji was determined to get Lin Feng and the other two. After the conversation, Ning, Fengji, and Tang Xin discussed the details of making hidden weapons. The day passed quickly. That morning, after Lin Feng earned tens of millions of experience points, he suddenly remembered something. Douluo's poison array was too big and too conspicuous. He had to dismantle it completely and shrink it a little. Then, he would replace it with a bewildering array. The principle behind this formation was very simple. It used soul stones to provide energy, and then one's own soul skills were inscribed on special materials and placed at specific locations. When they intersected with each other, they formed a formation. Lin Feng, Douluo, and that shadow didn't have any illusion-type soul skills. Lin Feng planned to make a trip to Douluo City to find a soul master with illusion-type soul skills and figure out the principles behind them. Then, he created an illusory array formation around the ice-fire yin-yang well. With that thought in mind, Lin Feng rushed to Douluo City. Even though Shadow Will couldn't escape, he was constantly trying to transmit information. But last night, Douluo found out about his little tricks and beat him up. Then, he took away everything on him. At this moment, Ying Luan was in despair. He could only stay here every day without any hope. Today, he was even beaten up. It was too miserable. After Lin Feng entered Douluo City, he immediately rushed to the Shrek Academy. In terms of the variety of martial souls and soul skills, Soul Master Academies were definitely one of the top places. The main reason was that the Soul Masters here were very obedient. He could easily find an academy with illusion-type soul skills. Furthermore, he could probably find a few more. Lin Feng learned all of them and created a more suitable one based on the principles. It didn't matter if the soul skill was weak. It could become stronger in Lin Feng's hands. When the time came, he could create an array formation. It probably wouldn't be able to block Tidal Douluo, but Soul Douluo might be fooled if he didn't look carefully. As for those below Soul Douluo, they wouldn't be able to discover it. In this way, the security of the ice-fire yin-yang well increased greatly. Lin Feng could even set up an array within an array to increase the security of the place. After all, this was Lin Feng's holy ground. It was good to have an extra layer of protection. Just as Lin Feng stepped into the academy's gate, the Crown Prince's people who were in charge of monitoring him immediately reported this news. This was the benefit of monitoring a place with many people. Lin Feng didn't realize that he was being monitored. After all, there were too many people watching him when he entered. After receiving the news, Xue Qinghe rushed over. At this moment, Lin Feng had already arrived at the academy. Instead of looking for Tang San and the others, he went straight to the dean's office. He was going to ask Flanders to go with him to these classes to find a few students who could use illusionary soul skills. After all, there were only a few people in the academy who knew Lin Feng. If he went alone, he might be kicked out. However, as soon as he entered the office, Flanders said with a happy face, "Little Feng, you're back. 7 treasures glazed sect, Master Ning, and His Highness the Crown Prince are looking for you." Nanny, Lin Feng could understand why the Crown Prince was looking for him, but why the hell was Ning Fengji looking for him? However, Lin Feng had more important things to do. He said directly, "Dean, can you accompany me to the Academy's classes? I want to find a few soul masters with special soul skills. Don't you want to see Sect Master Ning first? He's been waiting in the Academy for a day. He should be tinkering with some hidden weapons with Xiao San now." Flanders was slightly speechless. If others heard that a big shot like Ning Fengji was looking for them, they might jump up in excitement, but you didn't care at all. "Don't worry about that. My matter is more important," Lin Feng said. Flanders, okay. There's nothing to say. Let's follow Lin Feng to find a special soul master first. Maybe this was the world of geniuses. Some things that they valued were nothing in the eyes of others. However, as soon as the two of them left the office, they saw Ning Rongrong. "Fengge, you're finally back. My father is looking for you." With that, she shouted directly outside, "Dad, Fengge is back." Lin Feng. At this time, Lin Feng found that Ning Fengji, Dusty Heart, and Tang San on the sports field were preparing to go outside. He guessed that they were going to prepare some hidden weapons. Ning Rongrong just came over, mainly to report to Flanders, but she didn't expect to meet Lin Feng. Fengge. Tang Sen immediately ran over. Behind him, Ning Fengji and Dusty Heart looked at each other and walked over with a happy face. Originally, they had planned to wait for a few days, but they didn't expect that Lin Feng would appear on the second day. It was really a surprise. After approaching, Tang San quickly told Lin Feng about Ning Fengji, such as hidden weapons, immortal grasses, and recruitment. After nodding, Lin Feng smiled and cupped his hands to the two. Sect Master Ning, Your Highness Dusty Heart, Lin Feng greets you. Don't be so distant, just call me Uncle Ning. Ning Fengji's face was full of smiles. Dusty Heart behind him narrowed his eyes, then smiled and said, When I first saw you, I felt that your martial soul was strange, and I couldn't see through your strength. Now it's even stranger. I actually feel that you are an ordinary person, not simple. Chapter 237. When Dusty Heart had first met Lin Feng, he'd left in a hurry because of his face. At that time, he'd only felt that this child's martial soul was strange, and that his physique was extremely strong. Now that he'd met him again, he couldn't see through him at all. It was truly astonishing. One had to know that Dusty Heart was a rank 96 titled Douluo. His eyes were incomparably sharp, and he could even see through some illusions. But now, he couldn't see through a soul ancestor. However, it was also because of this that Dusty Heart felt that Ning Rongrong was right. This Lin Feng was truly a monster. My martial soul is special. I'm only a soul ancestor. With that, Lin Feng hurriedly simulated the aura of a rank 47 soul ancestor. With Lin Feng's current control over his soul power and the special nature of his martial soul, no one on the entire continent would be able to see through him unless titled Douluo used a soul skill that specialized in detecting soul power. Dusty Heart sensed again and laughed. You're worthy of being called a super monster. Lin Feng was only 13 years old. A 13-year-old soul ancestor, and he'd probably become a soul king before the tournament. Dusty Heart had never seen such a cultivation speed before. Ning Fengji and Flanders were rather sensitive to soul power. When Lin Feng emitted soul power fluctuations, they also felt it. Flanders nodded in understanding. He'd previously guessed that Lin Feng was an advanced soul ancestor. Now it was as he guessed. Ning Fengji sighed. With your strength, you should be number one in this year's Continental Elite Academy Tournament. With geniuses like you participating, the championship will be within reach. According to the standards of previous tournaments, Shrek Academy's team would definitely be the champions. Hearing this, Lin Feng had not yet spoken when Flanders quickly spoke up with a modest tone. Sect Master Ning is too serious. The seeded teams from the Martial Spirit Palace and the two empires are still very strong. We still need to strengthen our training. In fact, Flanders wasn't modest at all. He directly compared the Shrek Academy's team to the seeded teams of the two empires and the Martial Spirit Palace. As for the other teams, Flanders didn't put them in his eyes at all. After all, they were a team of geniuses. If Flanders didn't have any pride, then he would be too stupid. At this moment, Lin Feng directly exposed him. Director, I don't think anyone can fight in the competition. Flanders was speechless. Fengge, didn't you say that you weren't going to play? Ning Rongrong asked curiously. She remembered that Lin Feng had said that he would not accompany them to the competition. That's right. I'm not going to fight. Aren't the 7 of you enough? Don't you have any confidence in yourselves? Lin Feng asked back. Of course I do, Ning Rongrong said. On the side, Tang Sen also nodded and said, Fengge is right. We are already very strong. We need to have some confidence and aim for the championship. As long as we stay vigilant and go all out in the battle. As a genius, it was natural to have some pride and arrogance. An appropriate amount of pride could make people progress quickly, as long as they didn't become too conceited. Well said, geniuses should have this kind of arrogance. Ning Fengji praised. Speaking of which, in order to recruit these two geniuses, Ning Fengji had praised them more than a dozen times in the past 2 days. On the one hand, he felt that it was reasonable. On the other hand, he had to praise Lin Feng and the others. In layman's terms, he was a bootlicker. Ning Fengji was sucking up to Lin Feng and Tang San, but it was more subtle. He wanted to increase their favorability and then rope them in. After exchanging some pleasantries, Ning Rongrong said under Ning Fengji's signal, "Feng Ge, my father wants to talk to you alone." Ning Rongrong knew what Ning Fengji wanted to talk to Lin Feng about. He wanted to rope him in to join the sect. If necessary, he would even marry her to Lin Feng. Thinking of this, Ning Rongrong was a little excited. If it's about joining the sect, then forget it. Lin Feng's first sentence stunned everyone. "I don't like to be restricted. I won't join a sect. Our Seven Treasures glazed sect won't have the slightest restriction. It's very free and will provide all kinds of resources." Ning Fengji said quickly. Ning Fengji was a little upset that he was rejected before they even started talking. At the side, Flanders shook his head helplessly. This Ning Fengji was trying to poach someone in front of him. The main thing was that he couldn't say anything. Dusty Heart, the titled Douluo, was staring at him. Under this pressure, Flanders didn't dare to speak. Maybe I didn't say it clearly enough. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Uncle Ning, actually, I don't lack money or resources. I can also hunt for soul rings myself. I don't need any extra help." This. Ning Fengji actually wanted to ask Dusty Heart to teach Lin Feng. However, after thinking about the master, he swallowed this sentence. He didn't even mention Ning Rongrong's matter. Lin Feng's meaning was very clear. He had everything that the Seven Treasures glazed sect could provide him. There was no need for him to go to the sect. At this moment, Ning Fengji had nothing other than the protection of the titled Douluo and Ning Rongrong. Moreover, these two chips weren't decisive. It didn't mean that Lin Feng would join their sect as soon as he took them out. These were all preconditions. At this moment, Lin Feng didn't have this idea at all. It was useless for him to bring it up. "If that's the case, I won't force you. Here's a Seven Treasures glazed token. If you run into any trouble in the future, you can seek help from the soul cultivators of the Seven Treasures glazed school." Ning Fengji handed a token to Lin Feng. Ning Fengji was still very disappointed in this trip to the Shrek Academy. The person that he wanted to recruit the most actually rejected him so firmly. Tang Sin didn't try to rope him in either. As for Xiao Wu, he didn't even try. There was no need to think about it. She was definitely the same as Lin Feng and Tang San. She wouldn't join them. Fortunately, this trip wasn't completely fruitless. At least they got an order for hidden weapons from Tang San. The life-saving ability of the Seven Treasures glazed sect's soul masters would increase by a level. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, Lin Feng and Ning Fengji parted ways. When they left, Ning Rongrong even glared at him. Lin Feng was a little confused. However, he didn't think too much about it. Lin Feng quickly found a total of 8 students in the academy with illusionary soul skills with Flanders. In fact, Flanders was very curious about why Lin Feng was looking for these people. However, Lin Feng only replied with 3 words: research. As for what research, he didn't know, so he was very curious. "The 8 of you, come to me one by one and release your soul skills at me." Lin Feng's method of obtaining the principles of their soul skills was very simple. First, he wanted them to release their soul skills at him once to see the effect. Then, he directly placed his hand on their bodies and asked them to release their soul skills a few more times to feel the way their soul power worked. Chapter 238. Lin Feng only had to memorize the way they operated their soul power. After memorizing it, Lin Feng was able to roughly understand the principles behind it. Just like that, Lin Feng spent a few minutes to memorize all their soul skills. Flanders was dumbfounded the entire time. He didn't understand what kind of research was this. Just throwing soul skills like that? That's it? "Little Feng, what kind of research is this?" Flanders asked curiously. Dean, why haven't you left?" Lin Feng raised his head and was slightly puzzled. Just now, Lin Feng's mind was focused on simulating the principles behind those soul skills, so he didn't pay attention to the outside world. He thought that the tool Flanders had already left. He didn't expect him to still be there. Flanders, Seeing Flanders' slightly strange expression, Lin Feng explained, I'm just looking at the principles behind their soul skills and experimenting blindly. Dean, I have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Lin Feng was in a hurry to go back and set up the formation. After he finished speaking, he ran out of the academy. Flanders stood where he was and was slightly confused. After a long while, he sighed. I'm old. I can't keep up with the young people's thoughts. Lin Feng quickly exited the academy's gate. However, after taking 2 steps, he realized that Xue Qinghe was actually walking towards him. Although he had disguised himself, Lin Feng instantly realized that this was Xue Qinghe. The two of them looked at each other, and Xue Qinghe immediately walked over. Lin Feng, I have something to ask you. Oh, why is your highness looking for me? Lin Feng smiled. At the same time, he was very curious. What did the crown prince want to ask him? Shouldn't he be going to the martial soul hall to ask for reinforcements at this time? Lin Feng guessed that the soul sage that he killed in Soto City should be someone sent by the crown prince. Logically speaking, this guy should hate him very much. However, he actually came to find him alone. Was he not afraid of death? There's a tea house over there. Why don't we go and have a seat? Xue Qinghe had only casually disguised himself, so it was within his expectations that he would be discovered. What surprised him was that Lin Feng was not surprised by his appearance at all. This was interesting. Did he not care? Or did he know something? Let's go. Lin Feng smiled and walked into the private room of the tea house with Xue Qinghe. After taking a seat, Xue Qinghe asked, You don't seem surprised at all. Your Highness, you went to the Heaven Do Academy to stand up for us. I knew that you had something to ask of me. What's so surprising about you coming here today? Lin Feng took a sip of tea. You are very smart, Black Tiger Afu. Xue Qinghe suddenly called out Lin Feng's nickname. He thought that Lin Feng would be surprised or curious about how he knew this code name. However, Lin Feng said matter-of-factly, I also know that I'm very smart, so? The question is it smart? It's clearly your code name, Black Tiger Afu. Xue Qinghe was about to go crazy, but he still calmed down and continued. I'm here to find out more information. I heard that you know a Douluo called Thanos. Can you tell me more about him? Sure. Lin Feng took another sip of tea. But what benefit can I get? You can gain the friendship of the royal family. Xue Qinghe felt very uncomfortable. Normally speaking, it was normal to ask someone for a reward. However, he was the crown prince. His status was incomparably high. Normally, when he asked someone for a favor, they would do it without a second thought. In the eyes of the soul masters of the Heaven Do Empire, being able to gain the favor of the crown prince was already a great gift. Lin Feng wanted a reward? How insensible. These are all empty words. What's the use of them? I want tangible benefits. Lin Feng looked at Xue Qinghe as if he was looking at an idiot. You want to dismiss me with these empty words? What a joke. Xue Qinghe was stunned. Then, he said, as long as you tell me, I'll immediately get someone to make you a viscount. You're not sincere. Let's not talk about it. Do I care about a title? What's the use of title? I'll pay my respects. With that, Lin Feng prepared to leave. He didn't know if Xue Qinghe was stupid. According to the laws of the Heaven Do Empire, soul masters who were soul ancestors could directly apply for the title of viscount. Wait, Xue Qinghe felt a headache coming on. After thinking for a moment, he said, Soul Bone, as long as you can tell me everything about Thanos, I'll give you a 10,000-year soul bone. Soul bones were something that low-level soul masters could only dream of, but not obtain. However, in the eyes of experts, soul bones were just trading goods, especially soul bones that had just entered the 10,000-year level. There were actually many of these soul bones in stock. Sometimes, one could even squat in the Heaven Do auction house. After all, there were some soul masters who specialized in hunting 10,000-year soul beasts to earn money. The main production of soul bones came from this group of people. However, the channels for these people's soul bones were monopolized by some forces. Very few people even knew of their existence. For example, Lin Feng didn't know about this channel. Otherwise, he would have had his eyes on it long ago. That's more like it. Lin Feng laughed as he sat down. He didn't care about 10,000-year soul bones. Even some titled Douluo didn't care about them. They were probably used by soul masters like soul emperors and soul Douluo. However, if used at a young age, they would still be very powerful. After all, soul bones could also grow. Although their age wouldn't change, their power would still increase by a lot. For example, if he gave the soul bone to Tang San and the others, when they grew up to become titled Douluo, the additional attributes of the 10,000-year soul bone wouldn't be worse than a titled by using it for 60 to 70,000 years. If Lin Feng could obtain this soul bone now, he wouldn't use it himself. On one hand, this soul bone wasn't compatible with soul rings, so its effect might be weaker. On the other hand, 10,000-year soul bones were too weak. If he used them, it would consume too much experience. It wasn't worth it. If he wanted a soul bone, he could get a set when he added soul rings to the 1,000 trickery ruler in the future. A 10,000-year soul bone isn't something that can be taken out just because you want it. Tell me about it first, and I'll personally deliver it to you in a few days. Trying to gain something without risking anything? Lin Feng stood up again. Forgive me for not accompanying you. To be honest, after so many years, Xue Qinghe had never met someone like Lin Feng. He was about to explode from anger. At this moment, he took out a pure white stone from his soul tool and placed it on the table. This is a 5th-grade soul stone. Its value isn't lower than a 10,000-year soul bone. I'll put it in your hands. Wait for my soul bone to come and exchange it. This should be fine, right? If he didn't need Lin Feng's help, Xue Qinghe couldn't wait to capture Lin Feng and torture him. That's more like it. Lin Feng smiled as he grabbed the soul stone in his hand. He fiddled with it for a while before putting it away. Ask away. I'll tell you everything I know. Chapter 239. Speaking of which, the people in Douluo's world were quite honest. Basically, they had no concept of lying. Before a fight, they would let their opponent know their martial soul and strength. They were really too honest. Tang San in the original work was the same. On the surface, he was extremely cautious, but in reality, he was just a naive person. When he met some powerful people, he would answer whatever they asked. He would believe whatever others said. Most importantly, these words were all true. No one lied to him. This was the most amazing thing. The people in this world were too honest. Even though Lin Feng had taught Tang San and the others to learn to hide their strength and be more cautious, it did not seem to work very well. But from the looks of it now, the effect was not very good. Generally speaking, those who were slightly familiar with Tang San would know his strength. Then, looking at Lin Feng himself, no one knew how strong he was. So what if Xue Qinghe was suspicious? He still did not know his true identity. You think you can see through it, but in fact, I let you see it on purpose. You're old. Lin Feng thought about it carefully and felt that he was the only old Yin coin in this world. No. I'm so handsome and a proper gentleman. How can I be an old Yin coin? Lin Feng quickly hypnotized himself, hinting that he was a gentleman. At this moment, Xue Qinghe asked the first question. Are you Thanos' son? Lin Feng was dumbfounded by the first question. If I'm his own son, then that's really good. I really don't know how Xue Qinghe came to this conclusion. Although he was dumbfounded, he quickly said, No, but he's very good to me. This answer was beyond Xue Qinghe's expectations. He immediately felt that Lin Feng was lying. However, after thinking about it, it was still possible. If he was not his son, it was possible that he was his nephew. In any case, the two of them must have a close relationship. However, this was not the main point. He did not pursue the matter. Instead, he asked the second question. Do you know which family or force he's from? I don't know. I've never heard him mention it. He should be a Lone Ranger. Anyway, he's very powerful. Can you contact him now? No. Are you willing to join the Imperial family? Suddenly, Xue Qinghe asked. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment before he shook his head. No. When I succeed to the throne, I'll make you a Grand Scholar of the Empire. You'll be in charge of all the Soul Master Academies in the country. Xue Qinghe's eyes sparkled. The Grand Scholar of the Empire had a very revered status and could be said to be on the same level as a prince. Furthermore, he was in charge of all the Soul Master Academies in the country, and the future of the entire country was in his hands. This kind of power was simply terrifying. The reason Xue Qinghe gave him this position was mainly because of Thanos, who was backing Lin Feng. Thanos was too strong. Shadow Will Douluo had been captured alive. This was almost impossible if the difference in strength wasn't too great. Therefore, Xue Qinghe guessed that this Thanos might be a super powerhouse above level 97. If he could win over such a person, it was even possible to escape the control of the martial spirit palace. Of course, this offer was also made because of Lin Feng's talent. He was a soul ancestor at such a young age, and Shrek's 7 monsters. They were very likely to become titled Douluo in the future. It was worth it for him to try his best to rope them in. Not interested, Lin Feng rejected immediately. Then, he said, "Do you have any other questions? If not, I'm leaving." "You." Xue Qinghe was angered again. This Lin Feng's words were too infuriating. He had only asked a few questions, and he wanted to run away. These soul bones were too easy to earn. Moreover, he had offered such generous conditions, but he was still unmoved. His heart was too hard. What kind of person is Thanos? Xue Qinghe held back his anger and continued to ask. He's brave, handsome, suave, outstanding, and outstanding. Not only that, he's also powerful and full of compassion. He's simply perfect. Lin Feng praised himself so quickly that Xue Qinghe could only stare blankly at him. But soon, Xue Qinghe's image of Thanos at the poison array appeared in his mind. He thought to himself, nonsense. He didn't believe a single word of Lin Feng's. At the same time, Lin Feng thought to himself, Xue Qinghe's questions are all useless. There's no way to know his intentions. I have to take the lead. With that thought, Lin Feng said, "Why are you asking me about these things? Did you offend Mr. Destroy? Or do you want to harm him?" Xue Qinghe said calmly, "Nothing. I just heard that this powerful person is related to you, so I came to ask." "Oh, I met Mr. Destroy yesterday. I heard from him that 2 thieves wanted to ambush him, but he caught one and let the other one go." Lin Feng threw out a more important piece of information. Hearing this, Xue Qinghe became anxious. He hurriedly asked, "Why did he catch one and let the other go? Isn't it better to kill them?" Lin Feng's lips curled up. Why kill them? Mr. Destroy loves to fight, especially with titled battle pet warriors like Douluo. He let that guy go because he wanted him to call for reinforcements and then fight. I heard that the one who was caught was from the Martial Spirit Hall, and the Martial Spirit Hall has many titled battle pet warriors like Douluo. He wanted people to go and beat him up. Inglu and Douluo had the Martial Spirit Hall's token in his soul tool. It even had a way to contact the people in the secret passages near Heavendo City. Lin Feng had asked Douluo to tinker with it before he came. How can there be someone who likes to fight so much? Xue Qinghe could not understand Thanos' thoughts at all. He always thought it was a trap. He did not expect this to be the reason. Soon, he continued to ask, I heard from Serpent that there are 2 people with Thanos. Is this true? Lin Feng's expression changed a bit. You're lying too? When Serpent Woman from the Dragon Kingdom met him, he didn't even have the skill to create an avatar. How could he see 2 people? Lin Feng cursed in his mind. But on the surface, he still said, I don't know about that. Then he continued, Your Highness, why do you think the Martial Spirit Hall is so arrogant? They dare to sneak into Heavendo City. Do you think the city has been infiltrated by the Martial Spirit Hall since long ago? Xue Qinghe was taken aback. He guessed it. If Lin Feng knew his identity, he would not have told him. So he must have guessed it. I don't think so. There are many powerful warriors in Heavendo City. There's a large army outside. The Martial Spirit Hall would not dare to come here. Lin Feng smiled and changed the subject. Mr. Destroy likes to fight, and he let one of the Martial Spirit Hall go. Your Highness, how long do you think it will take for the Martial Spirit Hall to send more people here? Besides, the one Mr. Destroy captured was also a titled battle pet warrior, Duh. I think there will be a big battle near Heavendo City in a few days. Lin Feng's question was to find out Xue Qinghe's thoughts. Lin Feng would be able to figure out Xue Qinghe's thoughts from his answer later. I don't think so. Heavendo City is heavily guarded. I don't think the Martial Spirit Hall would dare to come here. Besides, it would take some time for them to send a message. Even if they did come, it would take them a month. Hearing this, Lin Feng squinted his eyes. He had heard some key information. The Martial Spirit Hall wouldn't dare to come. It would take them a month to send a message. From these 3 pieces of information, Lin Feng came to a conclusion. Xueqinghe hadn't notified the Martial Spirit Hall yet. Chapter 240. Slow Delivery of Messages? Bullsh *T. You think Lin Feng doesn't know how messages are delivered in that tunnel? That specially trained bird can fly very fast. It will take at most 3 days to deliver a message to the Martial Spirit Palace. Then, the tidal Douluo would rush over, and the Martial Soul Hall would probably react in a week at most. However, Xueqinghe had said that it would take a month. Clearly, he hadn't spread the news, and had even deliberately concealed it. For a moment, Lin Feng was confused. Why didn't Xueqinghe deliver the message? Wasn't he Bibi Dong's daughter, Qian Renxue, in disguise? Why didn't he help the Martial Spirit Palace? Lin Feng was puzzled. At the same time, Lin Feng didn't think it was appropriate. If Xueqinghe didn't ask for help from the Martial Spirit Palace, how could he earn experience points? No, he had to ask for help. As for Xueqinghe, Lin Feng couldn't deliberately remind him. He had already said so much. Anything else would cause problems. But it didn't matter. He had said everything he needed to say. If Xueqinghe knew what to do, he would inform the Martial Spirit Palace. Even if he didn't inform Lin Feng, he wouldn't panic. When Xueqinghe went back, he would ask Douluo to send a message to the Martial Spirit City through the Martial Spirit Palace's channels. Lin Feng said, I think so too. There are so many powerful warriors in the Heavendo City. The Martial Spirit Palace wouldn't dare to come. After a pause, Lin Feng continued, Do you have any other questions? If not, remember to send the soul bone over in a few days. Just give it to Tang San. I'll pass the soul stone to him. Xueqinghe didn't have any more questions. It was just a short conversation, but he had learned a lot. Lin Feng had also answered his most pressing question, Thanos' purpose. He just wanted to fight? That was unbelievable. Xueqinghe still couldn't believe it. Also, Lin Feng said that he would give the soul stone to Tang San so that he could make a deal with Tang San. Xueqinghe was going to trade the soul bone. That was so important. Was he going to give it to Tang San? Curious, he asked, Aren't you going to trade with me? 10,000-year soul bones are too trashy. I don't need them. Lin Feng chuckled and left. Xueqinghe, though he agreed with what Bai Yunfei said, Lin Feng was only his soul ancestor. Furthermore, he was so young. Even if it was only a 10,000-year soul bone, it should still be a treasure to him. Even in the auction house, the starting price was 100,000 gold coins. How could he not be moved? This really surprised him. However, after thinking about it carefully, he felt relieved. With a powerful elder like Thanos around, there shouldn't be a lack of soul bones. Furthermore, with his talent, he would definitely obtain even better soul bones in the future. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was what Xueqinghe was going to do now, as Thanos wished, to inform the Martial Spirit Palace. This should also be the reason why Thanos let him go. However, by doing so, he was simply a tool. He wouldn't get anything out of it. What if he didn't inform the Martial Spirit Palace? Would he drag things out like he had planned? In this way, Xueqinghe would have more time to rope in the people he had secretly contacted in the city. This would increase his external strength. However, this wasn't good. If Thanos was unhappy and came to find trouble with him, it wouldn't be good. Although his mask was not taken off at that time, he was sure that there was an 80% chance that Thanos knew about his identity. This was why he told Lin Feng about this matter and said those words just now. As for Lin Feng, he probably only knew about this matter, but didn't know his identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have reacted like that. No, I have to look for Thanos again. Regardless of which idea he had, the benefits he could obtain would be limited. He had to specifically look for Thanos to talk to him. This was the only way he could obtain the greatest benefits for himself. As he thought about this, Xueqinghe prepared to make another trip to the setting sun forest. On the other hand, Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry to find Tang San to deliver the soul stone after he left the tea house. This matter wasn't urgent. It wasn't too late tomorrow. He quickly left the city and returned to the ice fire Yin Yang well. First, he asked Douluo about the Martial Spirit Palace's information channels. Douluo said that he was about to learn it. At most, he would be able to use Ying Luan's identity to send out information in half a day. Lin Feng expressed his approval. After that, he asked Douluo to dismantle the poison array and bring the materials back. Douluo was puzzled as to why Lin Feng wanted to dismantle the poison array, but he didn't say anything. He hurriedly went to carry out his task. On the other hand, Lin Feng started to demonstrate the illusory soul skills he had just learned near the ice-fire yin-yang well. There were a total of 8 types. 3 of them were similar and caused people to enter a trance. The other 5 were more unique and caused people to enter an illusory realm through different methods. Lin Feng understood these principles thoroughly. After that, he prepared to create an illusory soul skill that was similar to the ghostly labyrinth. Then, he would complement it with a formation. In this way, people who passed by would realize that the ice-fire yin-yang well was just like an ordinary forest. There was nothing special about it. If people accidentally walked in, they would be let out very naturally. They wouldn't be able to discover the real ice-fire yin-yang well. Creating such a soul skill required a lot of brain power. Even though Lin Feng could multitask now, he could even think of 6 ideas at once. However, it would take at least an hour to do so. Douluo was very fast. After about 10 minutes, Douluo dismantled the poison array and brought the materials back. "My lord, are you going to build another great formation yourself?" "Yes." After he finished speaking, Lin Feng continued to study his illusory soul skill. He didn't bother with Douluo anymore. Douluo was also tactful. He quickly left. After an hour and a half, Lin Feng smiled. He had finally completed his research. It was his self-created soul skill, the ghostly labyrinth. After using it, the enemy would feel as if they were in a different space. They wouldn't have any sense of direction. Now that the soul skill had been created and he understood the principles behind it, Lin Feng immediately started to carve the soul skills patterns on the materials. This was a technical job. Douluo had spent 2 months to set up this poison array. However, Lin Feng was much faster. He completed it in an hour. On one hand, he was multitasking. On the other hand, his illusory formation was much smaller than his poison array. After carving the materials and experimenting with them, Lin Feng quickly set up the formation near the ice-fire yin-yang well. He was even faster. In less than 5 minutes, the illusory formation was completed. It was quite effective. Soul sages couldn't break it. Even Soul Douluo wouldn't be able to discover anything. Unless a titled Douluo had a special soul skill to see through it, he would only be able to discover anything if he released a soul skill with strong soul power undulations inside the formation. However, no one would come here to fight if they didn't know about the illusory formation. Even Douluo and the others were some distance away from the ice-fire yin-yang well. Therefore, this formation was very well hidden. Chapter 241. He had just finished setting up the formation and was testing its effects when Douluo came running over. "My lord, the person you let go yesterday is back." "Oh." Lin Feng was taken aback and hurried over. It had only been 3 hours, and the setting sun forest was still quite far from Heavendo City. Xueqing wasn't Douluo, and he had come over so quickly, which meant that he had come right after talking to him. What was he doing here? Saving Ying Luan on his own? Lin Feng and Douluo came to an open space with doubts in their minds. Xueqing was here. Douluo had captured him after discovering him. Xueqing had said that he was here for Thanos, so Douluo didn't do anything to him. He didn't remove his mask, even though he was curious. Ying Luan was talking to Xueqing about something, but he immediately shut up when Douluo and Lin Feng came over. "Ying Luan, don't try any tricks, or I'll take your life," Douluo said with a smile. Ying Luan smiled bitterly. "I wouldn't dare." His life was in someone else's hands. Even though Ying Luan and Douluo had known each other before, he was in a different position. Fortunately, Douluo was also a title battle pet warrior, so Douluo still gave Ying Luan some face. At the very least, he didn't lock Ying Luan up like a criminal. Lin Feng raised his hand, and the ruler turned into a giant hand that grabbed Xueqing. I told you to call for help. Where is he? This was a new scene. Even Douluo hadn't expected Lin Feng to use this move. He had always seen Lin Feng use a rod. Xueqinghe was also shocked. On one hand, he was surprised by Lin Feng's martial soul, which was very special. On the other hand, he was surprised by Douluo. He hadn't noticed Douluo was here when he was captured last time. He was quite shocked when he saw Douluo. He felt that Douluo was much stronger than before. Luan had even told him that Douluo might have reached rank 95 and was very strong. One had to know that Douluo had only been at level 91 before. In a short month, he had broken through 4 levels in a row. It was truly shocking. As for Douluo, he was a true loner. No one from the Imperial family, Martial Spirit Palace, or any of the other major powers could invite him to join them. Even Prince Xuexing was only given the opportunity to be a guest elder because of Douluo's kindness. Who would have thought that it would be subdued by Thanos? Your Holiness Thanos, I'm here to discuss a partnership. Xuexing suppressed the shock in his heart and said calmly, Cooperation? Lin Feng was taken aback. He never thought that Thanos' identity would have any sort of cooperation with Xuexing. This cooperation is of great importance. I hope to speak with you alone. Xuexing was taking a gamble at this moment. He was gambling that, as Lin Feng had said, Thanos really liked to fight. This was a huge gamble. If he gambled correctly and cooperated with Thanos, he wouldn't be bound by Martial Spirit Palace anymore. Bibi Dong, in particular, wouldn't be able to control him anymore. At that time, he would be the real Xuexing and not a spy for Martial Spirit Palace. If he gambled wrongly, he would say that he was good friends with Black Tiger Fu. Lin Feng and Thanos' relationship was definitely not ordinary. He wouldn't die if he said that. Regardless of which choice he made, he would have to reveal his identity. Therefore, he couldn't let Lin know. After being secretly controlled by Bibi Dong for so many years, Xuexing was filled with resentment towards her. Now that the opportunity to break free was right in front of him, the temptation was too great. He had to gamble. At worst, he would just die. Xuexing had already mentally prepared himself. Of course, he dared to gamble because he felt that the chances were quite high. After so many years of investigation, Lin Feng's words were most likely true. Moreover, he had specifically asked Luan and learned that he had been beaten up this morning. This time, he felt even more confident. Talk in private? Interesting. Lin Feng chuckled and nodded. Okay, I'll give you a chance. With that, Lin Feng brought Xuexing to a nearby cave. Then, he used the 1,000-trick ruler to cover the cave. Speak. Lin Feng was a man of few words. With his identity, he had to have a cold image. Xuexing organized his words and said, Sir, I'm actually the crown prince of the Heaven Do Empire, Xuexing. With that, he took off his mask and revealed a handsome face. It was the crown prince's face. He didn't show that he had disguised his face with a soul bone because it wasn't necessary. Lin Feng didn't move. He didn't even say a word. Xuexing wasn't surprised. He continued, I can contact Martial Spirit Palace to send people over to satisfy your desire to fight. As long as you control it well, you can control the level of Douluo. You can deal with them calmly. Then, after listening to Xuexing for a minute or two, Lin Feng roughly understood what Xuexing was thinking. Hui Yuhao wanted to continuously provide him with titled Douluo opponents. As long as he cooperated with Hui Yuhao's act, he would be able to fight titled Douluo twice a month. Furthermore, there wouldn't be any accidents in those fights. Xuexing even analyzed the pros and cons of this with Lin Feng. Although the number of fights would decrease, it would be much safer. Otherwise, if something happened to another group of people, the consecrators of Martial Spirit Palace would intervene. By then, no matter how strong Lin Feng was, he would die if he was surrounded. It had to be said that Xuexing's mind was still quite sharp. This way, he did not have to worry about the experience points being taken away. Also, if he only fought twice a month, his experience points wouldn't decrease. This was a sustainable development strategy. What a good plan. But there was a problem. If Xuexing was unfavorable to him or played tricks, he might be besieged. Of course, Lin Feng wouldn't be afraid. With the soul skills of teleportation and body exchange, Lin Feng just needed to be prepared in advance. Thinking about it, he said calmly, "So what do I need to do?" Xue Qinghe took such a big risk to discuss cooperation. He must have something to ask of him. "Protect me," Xue Qinghe said solemnly. "My plan will only work for a year at most. After a long time, Martial Spirit Palace will also react. I hope you can protect me after that." Then, he continued, "Actually, my identity as the Crown Prince is fake. My real identity is Martial Spirit Palace's Branch Hall Master. But now I'm tired of Martial Spirit Palace. I want to be the real Crown Prince. I hope you can help me when the Martial Spirit Palace wants to deal with me." The Heavendo Empire also had spies in Martial Spirit City. If Martial Spirit Palace sent out a large number of titled Douluo, Xue Qinghe would ask the Seven Treasures Glaze sect for help. In addition, Lin Feng and Douluo were there. Even if the Pope came in person, nothing would happen. Chapter 242. Actually, wasn't Bibi Dong who wanted him to go to the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. It was Xue Qinghe who fought for it. His goal was to leave the Martial Spirit Hall in the future. After all, he had a teacher-student relationship with Ning Fengji. If he fell out with the Martial Spirit Hall in the future, he would have a defensive strategy. However, these weren't very safe, so he hadn't made up his mind yet. But this time, Thanos was different. He was a peerless expert in Douluo. With their promise, Xue Qinghe wouldn't panic at all. He would completely leave the Martial Spirit Hall's control. Jianxin, Douluo, Thanos, and a few hidden titled warriors of the Heavendo Empire, Douluo. With Ning Fengji's buff, even his grandfather, Qin Douluo, wouldn't be able to do anything to them. Branch Hall Master? Why did he betray the Martial Spirit Hall? Lin Feng was puzzled. He really didn't understand why Xue Qinghe wanted to leave the Martial Spirit Hall. Wasn't he Bibi Dong's daughter? Lin Feng remembered that Bibi Dong and Qian Rinxue seemed to have become gods in the end. As for the emotional description in the middle, Lin Feng forgot because he didn't read it in detail. However, he remembered that Xue Qinghe didn't betray the Martial Spirit Hall. It was a long time later when he revealed his identity. And his strength, he was already a soul sage. Although his soul power fluctuations weren't strong, and it felt like he had just become a soul sage, his speed seemed to be a little faster. Actually, things had changed a lot since Lin Feng met Xue Qinghe in the Setting Sun Forest. In the original book, Xue Qinghe was busy with all kinds of communication and learning, so his cultivation was a little slower. However, because of Lin Feng's appearance, he spent more information on cultivation, so his strength improved a little faster than in the original book. However, it wasn't much faster, about 1 or 2 levels. It's not betrayal, it's leaving. Xue Qinghe corrected Lin Feng. The Martial Spirit Hall controlled me too much, and it made me sick. I wanted to live with a new identity, and not be a pawn in the Martial Spirit Hall's hands. Xue Qinghe only felt resentment towards Bibi Dong. He resented Bibi Dong's heartlessness and his abandonment. For so many years, he had been pretending to be another person here. Other than getting orders from Bibi Dong, he had never felt the motherly love that he longed for. As for the Martial Spirit Hall, he still had feelings for it. After all, many of the Soul Masters there were his first teachers. I see. Lin Feng nodded slightly. However, in his heart, he thought that Xue Qinghe had developed a rebellious heart. However, this was also good. It would make things easier for him. However, this protection still had to be discussed properly. I can protect you, but I can't protect you all the time. I still have things to do. Xue Qinghe hurriedly said, "Don't worry, sir. If you need protection, I will notify you in advance. You only need to be near Heavendo City." There was about a day's worth of time between the departure of the Martial Spirit City and their response to the news. The Setting Sun Forest wasn't far from Heavendo City. Lin Feng was in the middle of the forest. When the time came, he would personally come over to invite them. All right. Lin Feng nodded. Xue Qinghe smiled in delight when he saw this. Then, he explained his plan to Lin Feng in detail. After hearing this, Lin Feng felt some admiration for this guy. He came to Heavendo City alone to be a spy. Although the Martial Spirit Hall secretly assisted him, he did most of the work himself. Not only did he complete the tasks assigned to him by the Martial Spirit Hall, but he also obtained many strategic maps and information on the strength of many families. At the same time, he also secretly roped in many families. Some people from academies were also on good terms with him. He even obtained the support of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy and the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. Under such circumstances, he was definitely going to take the throne. Even some of the Snowy Night Emperor's authority was given to him. He also had the right to mobilize 100 guards in Heaven Do City. This was a favor. In a city, not even a prince could directly mobilize the army. Xue Qinghe, on the other hand, could. This was enough to show how much the Snowy Night Emperor valued him. Of course, roping in these people to gain the favor of the Snowy Night Emperor was just a basic operation. What Lin Feng admired the most was that Xue Qinghe had already thought of a way out for himself. If he really left the Martial Spirit Hall, Dusty Heart, and his teacher Ning Fengji from the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect would come to protect him. There were also several titled battle pet warriors hiding in the Heaven Do Empire, as well as the encirclement of the army. This would be enough to fend off the Martial Spirit Hall's attack. If that was the case, with Lin Feng and Douluo's help, the Martial Spirit Hall would be safe. If the Martial Spirit Hall did launch a large-scale attack, he could take advantage of this opportunity to gain a lot of experience points. Just like this, Xue Qinghe left after a short discussion. He was ready to lure the titled battle pet warriors of the Martial Spirit Hall over. He didn't care about the Shadow Wheel. According to him, the Shadow Wheel wasn't important and it was fine to keep it locked up. He could just release it after a while. This was exactly what Lin Feng wanted. This guy could give him more than 10 million experience points a day. He couldn't bear to release it now. He had almost 200 million experience points now. In a few days, he would be able to break through 2 of his soul rings at the same time. Why didn't he break through them one by one? Because the energy produced by breaking through 2 soul rings at the same time was greater than that produced by 1 soul ring alone. This way, Xiaoying could improve a little more. In addition, Xiaoying had been following him around the ice fire yin yang every day and had eaten a lot of herbs. If he used this energy to stimulate the medicinal power in its body, its strength would increase faster. As for why he didn't break through all 4 soul rings at the same time, it was because the energy produced was too great. Xiaoying probably couldn't absorb it at all. If it tried to forcefully absorb it, its life would be in danger. If he steadily broke through 2 soul rings at a time, and with the stimulation of the medicinal power, it would probably break through to the 100,000-year level soon. Xiaoying was now 60,000 years old, and was a little stronger than a soul sage. It could even contend with Douluo. Without thinking too much, Lin Feng returned to the maze after Xue Qinghe left and continued to perfect the details of the maze. Xue Qinghe had told him that if nothing unexpected happened, the Martial Spirit Hall would send a titled battle pet warrior Douluo to investigate in 5 days. There should be 2 people. He and Douluo could easily deal with them. When the time came, they could just fight. They couldn't capture them or kill them. They could just let them go. And this was the first cooperation between Xue Qinghe and Lin Feng in their plan. As long as the results were good, their cooperation would be considered complete. Thinking about the large amount of experience points that would soon enter his account, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile as he tidied up the maze. Chapter 243. The next day, Lin Feng went to Douluo and Yingluan to collect a round of protection fees. After collecting for 3 consecutive days, the amount of protection fees had dropped by a lot. In total, it was only a little over 25 million. However, with this, his experience points had reached 200 million. He could use it to break through 2 of his soul rings. After returning to the ice fire yin-yang well, Lin Feng grabbed Xiaoying and left. The commotion caused by a soul ring breaking through was too great. Even with the 1,000 trickery ruler, it would still leak out. Douluo and the others were also very sensitive, so Lin Feng had to stay away from them. After flying for about 300 kilometers to the south, Lin Feng found an uninhabited mountain top and landed. According to the order, Lin Feng wanted to break through his 3rd and 4th soul rings. The Armored Bears and the Fireweaver Monkey's soul rings were currently at 10,000 years, while the Fireweaver Monkey's soul rings were at 1,459. Lin Feng had spent 170 million to upgrade them to 999. After covering them with 1,000 trickery ruler and adding a few more layers, Lin Feng spent another 20 million to break through these 2 soul rings. After experiencing it several times, Lin Feng was very relaxed this time. He could even direct the remnant soul power to envelop Xiao Ying. On the other hand, Xiao Ying was rapidly digesting the medicinal power in his body. Energy was crazily flowing into his body, and his strength was also rapidly increasing. 65,000 years, 70,000 years, 80,000 years. Finally, after reaching 80,000 years, Xiao Ying's aura slowly stabilized. The higher one's strength, the harder it was to increase. After breaking through 100,000 years, there was still a bottleneck. The previous time, Lin Feng also broke through 2 soul rings, and Xiao Ying directly increased his strength by 30,000 years. But this time, with a large amount of medicinal power in his body, he only increased his strength by 20,000 years. Originally, Lin Feng wanted Xiao Ying to use the next opportunity to break through to 100,000 years. But now, let alone 100,000 years, it would be difficult for him to break through to 95,000 years. He would probably have to wait for Lin Feng's 9th soul ring to break through the barrier of a 100,000-year soul beast. Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. Very quickly, he sensed the soul skill he'd obtained after his breakthrough. First was his 3rd soul skill, Armored Demonic Bear Transformation. Previously, this soul skill's effect was to increase all of his attributes by 4 times and last for an hour. How should he describe this effect? As his 3rd soul skill, the 4-fold increase in all his attributes was relatively strong. After all, the duration and soul power barrier were no different from Dai Mubai's 3rd soul skill. But this time, after his soul ring broke through the 100,000-year mark, its duration became unlimited, and his soul power barrier became stronger. Most importantly, all of his attributes had increased by 8 times. When he unleashed his martial soul true body, the effects of his soul skills would be doubled. All of his attributes would be multiplied by 16, which was an extremely terrifying number. Although it was only double Lin Feng's current abilities, Lin Feng felt that he could fight against a rank 98 titled Soul Master, Douluo. And when he became a titled Soul Master, Douluo, perhaps only the 3 rank 99 Soul Masters on the entire continent would be able to fight against him. It was important to note that a rank 99 titled Soul Master, Douluo, was on a completely different level from other titled Soul Masters. People of this level were usually guardians of God positions, and their soul rings have been strengthened. Furthermore, they usually possessed powerful weapons. With the power of these weapons, they could even kill a rank 98 titled Soul Master, Douluo. Lin Feng thought that Douluo, who had just become a titled Soul Master, could already fight against such a powerful Soul Master. That was a manifestation of extreme confidence. His 3rd soul ring had been doubled, and so had his 4th soul skill. The Fireweaver Monkey's 4th soul skill was originally a blazing wreath, an extremely powerful offensive soul skill. It was countless times stronger than Fatty's Phoenix Flames. Now, it had been strengthened into a blazing sea of fire. With a gentle wave of his hand, a blazing sea of fire would appear. This blazing sea of fire was extremely powerful. Lin Feng believed that even a soul master like Douluo wouldn't be able to last long. If a titled soul master like Douluo wasn't a defense-type soul master, he would also be injured. Through the control of his soul power, Lin Feng could gather the blazing sea of fire and throw it out like a bomb. In theory, if he had enough soul power and was able to control it, it was possible for him to blow up an entire city with a single move. However, this was all in theory. There was a limit to Lin Feng's control over his soul power. Furthermore, there was the increase in soul power required for soul skills. The further he progressed, the more soul power he required. By the time he reached this level, Lin Feng would probably have become a god. Name: Lin Feng Martial Soul, 1000 Trick Ruler, Immeasurable Flower Soul Power. Rank 82, plus 1,000 trick ruler soul ring. None special soul skill. Avatar immeasurable flower soul ring. Snow lotus 10,000 year. Plus, soul skill. Life bloom ghost head stalking spider 10,000 year. Plus, soul skill. Shadow bind armored bear 100 million year. Plus, soul skill. Armored demonic bear transformation fire weaver monkey 100 million year. Plus, soul skill. Blazing sea of fire nether civet 100 million year. Plus, soul skill. Nether body lightning falcon 100 million year. Plus, soul skill. Thunderbolt force wind dragon 100 million year. Plus, soul skill. Martial soul true body chinko and blood shadow beast 100 million year. Plus, soul skill. Teleport can also change position with avatar soul bone. Wind dragon left leg bone 100 million year. Plus, soul skill 1. Hadhar soul skill 2. Wind invisibility chinko and blood shadow bee skull 100 million year. Plus, soul skill 1. Spatial imprisonment soul skill 2. Blood fiend experience. Points. For 18541, Lin Feng had been suppressing his soul power all this time. After so long, he hadn't even increased a single rank, which was pretty good. Right now, he only had 2 soul rings that weren't a 100,000-year soul ring. If he earned another 200 million experience points, he would have 800,000-year soul rings. After that, Lin Feng naturally wouldn't choose to break through to the titled Douluo realm. Instead, he would choose to give his second martial soul a set of soul rings. His goal was to increase his strength without changing his rank. That way, he could guarantee that he would gain experience points at a steady rate. One had to look at the long term when doing things. First, the higher his rank, the less experience points he would gain from fighting other soul masters. After he broke through to the titled Douluo realm, Douluo and Yingluan would probably give him very little experience points. Even if he wanted to gain experience in the future, he would have to find stronger titled Douluo, and these strong titled Douluo realm didn't have many of them. This wasn't what he wanted to see. Therefore, his goal now was to equip the 1,000-trick ruler with 8 soul rings and then strengthen all of them to the 100,000-year level. At that time, with 1,600,000-year soul rings, his strength would probably be comparable to the 1,000 Dao sect. Right now, Lin Feng's goal was the 1,000 Dao sect. As long as someone was stronger than him, he would go to the martial spirit palace and play as the Pope. Cough, cough. Being the Pope was just one way. Other identities, like the Great Consecrator, were also possible. Anyway, his main goal was to make those soul masters in the martial spirit palace willingly become his experience baby, and not to force them to submit through violence. Chapter 244. After all, if he didn't become a god, he would still be a titled Douluo. Lin Feng might be very strong, so strong that he could even defeat all of them. However, if he wanted to force those titled Douluo to become his experience babies, he wouldn't have the time to do anything other than suppress them all day long. After all, if there was oppression, there would be resistance. Countless television shows and movies told Lin Feng that the style of a villain wouldn't last long. The best way was to become friends with this group of experience babies, and it would be best if he could subdue them like Douluo. While thinking of a follow-up plan, Lin Feng also stabilized his strength. Meow. Xiaoying intimately leaned over and licked Lin Feng's face. Stop licking. Let's go back to Heavendo City. With a smile, Lin Feng and Xiaoying flew back to Heavendo City. There had been too many things to do in the past few days, and he was a little tired. After breaking through his soul ring today, Lin Feng wanted to rest for a while. Of course, he had to make a trip back to Shrek Academy first and give Xueqing his soul stone to Tang San. Soon, Lin Feng returned to Heavendo City and went straight to Shrek Academy. He looked around and didn't find anyone in the meditation room or the dormitory. He asked Flanders and found out that the master had taken them to the forest behind the academy for class. Lin Feng took a few minutes to arrive in front of everyone. After greeting them, he waved at Tang San. Xiao San, come here. I have something for you. Okay. Tang San immediately ran over. This is a 5th grade soul stone that the crown prince left with me. Lin Feng placed the soul stone in Tang San's hand. A 5th grade soul stone. Tang San hurriedly sensed it and then exclaimed in admiration. The soul power inside is so pure. If I keep it by my side, I can speed up my meditation. Eh, the Crown Princes? Tang San was stunned. Yes. Lin Feng nodded and said, in a day or two, he'll bring a soul bone over to exchange with you. When the time comes, you could just exchange with him. A soul bone, Tang San exclaimed, attracting everyone's attention. The main reason was that soul bones were simply too precious. Normally, only 10,000-year-soul beasts would produce them. Furthermore, even 10 million-year-soul beasts might not produce even one. This kind of thing was too precious. Tang San and the others had never seen it before. The Grand Master immediately walked over. What soul bone? He thought that she was talking about Tang San's external soul bone, so he was more concerned. Of course, finding a soul bone was also a very important matter. Did Feng Ge get a soul bone? Oscar and the others gathered around curiously. Lin Feng nodded and casually said, in a few days, the Crown Prince will send over a 10,000-year soul bone. When the time comes, you can choose who it suits and use it. It really was a soul bone. Everyone was surprised. At the same time, they were also very shocked by Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng actually didn't want something as important as a soul bone. Did he mean that he was going to let them distribute it among themselves? Feng Ge, a soul bone is too precious. You should keep it yourself. Tang San immediately stuffed the soul stone into Lin Feng's hands. After the Grandmaster recovered from his shock, he said, a soul bone is an extremely rare thing. It's different from a soul ring. It's not limited by the age of the soul beast. It mainly evolves according to the strength of the soul master. Even if it's the most ordinary soul bone, as long as you can obtain it when your strength is low, you can still obtain a very strong bonus when you become stronger in the future. Xiao Feng, you're so young now. The effect of using this soul bone will definitely be very good. The Grandmaster had stayed in the martial spirit hall before, so he was very familiar with soul bones. Soul bones were too rare. The martial spirit hall had soul masters who specialized in hunting for soul bones, but it was already very good if they could obtain even one soul bone in a year. Under such circumstances, the Grandmaster didn't think that everyone would be able to obtain a soul bone quickly, so he didn't explain in detail. It was only because Tang San obtained an external soul bone that the Grandmaster decided to teach him a little. However, now that they had come into contact with a soul bone, he still had to explain it. Yes, Feng Ge, I heard from my father that a soul bone doesn't absolutely have an additional soul skill, but it's extremely strong for a soul master's physical fitness. If you use it, you can even defeat a soul emperor with a single punch, Ning Rongrong said. When Lin Feng said that he was going to distribute the soul bone with them, they were really moved. This was a supreme treasure for a soul master, but Lin Feng didn't want to give it to them. They were really shocked, and now they were all trying to persuade Lin Feng to use it himself. Lin Feng calmly said, it's just a 10,000-year soul bone. The Crown Prince told me that this is the kind that just entered the 10,000-year soul bone. Even if it can be strengthened when he becomes a titled Douluo, it'll only be equivalent to a 60,000-year soul bone at most. Furthermore, soul bones are also very suitable. It's best to take the soul bone from the soul beast you obtain the soul ring from. This way, you can maximize the effectiveness of the soul bone, just like the 8 spider legs on Xiao San's back. Feng Ge, that's called the 8 spider spears, Tang San whispered. Lin Feng glanced at him and ignored him. He continued, if it's not compatible with your martial soul, the soul bone's effect won't be very strong. Lin Feng's meaning was very clear. This 10,000-year soul bone was trash, and he didn't care about it. They didn't know what to say about this. Lin Feng actually didn't care about something like a soul bone. The master said, the compatibility of the soul bone will be affected, but it's different from soul rings. It won't conflict with the martial soul. Even if it's not compatible, the effect won't exceed 20%. On the continent, the first thing a soul master would think of when they encountered a soul bone was to directly absorb it. After all, the enhancement brought by a soul bone was too great. It was simply an overwhelming advantage. If a soul elder's body was filled with 10,000-year soul bones, he could directly fight a soul emperor with just his physical fitness. This was the bonus brought by the soul bone. If a soul elder had a 100,000-year soul bone, he could probably even touch a soul sage. A 20% difference is already very big. You guys can use it. I don't care about it, Lin Feng said bluntly. In fact, because of Lin Feng's martial soul's uniqueness, he didn't have the problem of compatibility with the soul bone. However, even if he could unleash 100% of his strength with his soul bone, it couldn't be compared to a soul bone that was compatible with his soul ring. This was because that soul bone could unleash 150% of his strength. Just like Tang San's 8th spider spear, it was an extremely special external soul bone that was related to his soul ring. This was the foundation for him to challenge those of a higher rank in the future. Lin Feng had a better choice. Why would he use this thing? Moreover, the 10,000-year soul bone was too low. He still needed a lot of experience points. Feng Ge domineering. Ma Hongjun sighed. Lin Feng actually said that he didn't care about something as powerful as a soul bone. He didn't know what to say. Feng Ge is too good to us. He gave us immortal herbs and soul bones. I want to repay him with my body. Oscar's words sent chills down everyone's spine. Chapter 245. In the end, under Lin Feng's insistence, Tang Sin accepted the soul stone. I'll get my own soul bones in the future. You guys can keep this. After giving away the soul stone, Lin Feng didn't stay any longer. After chatting for a while, he went to Heavendoe City to relax. Speaking of which, Lin Feng hadn't visited Heavendoe City before. As the capital of the Heavendoe Empire, everything here was very prosperous. In the original novel, Tang Hao's sister, Tang Yuehua, seemed to have opened an academy in the city that specialized in teaching noble etiquette. That place should be quite interesting. He could go and take a look when the time came. But since he was here to relax, there was no point in visiting. Lin Feng wanted to eat good food and watch some movies. Of course, there were no real movies in Douluo's world. The movies he was talking about here were actually dramas. Some opera houses and even some high-end restaurants had places where dramas were played. One could watch them for a single gold coin. Basically, they were reserved for soul masters and nobles. After all, 1 gold coin was too much for a normal person. Other than these movie places, there were also karaoke places, saunas, red light districts, and so on. Just as Lin Feng was having fun in the city, in the Martial Spear Hall, Bibi Dong sat on the main seat in the Pontis Palace. He wore a luxurious black robe with golden embroidery. He wore a 9-ringed purple crown and held a 2-meter-long papal staff embedded with countless gems. Her white skin and almost perfect face were enough to make one's imagination run wild. However, she exuded an invisible sense of nobility and holiness. She was so different that it made people want to bow down and worship her. At this moment, Bibi Dong was listening to a report from a white-robed bishop in the center of the hall. Your Holiness, there's news from Heavendoe City. Ing Luan Douluo, who's been secretly overseeing things, has been trapped. We need to go and rescue him. As a white-robed bishop, he was not qualified to know about Xue Qinghe. Not all titled battle pet warriors in the Martial Spirit Palace knew about Qianren Xue. Bibi Dong had only told a small number of people. Ing Luan and Soul Douluo, who had helped Xue Qinghe obtain a soul ring, had been nurtured by the Martial Soul Hall since they were young. They were all Bibi Dong's trusted aides, which was why they were qualified to come. Is there any other news? Bibi Dong's voice was incomparably cold, as if she was a high and mighty queen. No, the white-robed bishop said respectfully. Go down, call Yu Guan and Gue Mei over. Yes. The white-robed bishop hurriedly got up and left the Pope's palace. After he left, Bibi East's frown deepened. Not long ago, she had received a message from Ing Luan saying that Xue Qinghe was secretly investigating something and had even used the Martial Soul Hall to plant a spy near Heavendoe City. After some information gathering, Bibi Dong found a name from Ing Luan's message, and that was Thanos. A person that Ing Luan had no information about, but he believed that the masked man who fought Douluo in Heavendoe City was most likely Thanos. That was a very strong titled battle pet warrior who was even better at hiding his aura. When he was near the Heavendoe Academy's Education Committee's hall, he actually didn't notice Lin Feng, who was so close to him. However, Lin Feng didn't notice him either, so he estimated that Lin Feng was around rank 95. Considering all the information, Bibi Dong felt that Ying Luan's sudden disappearance was a bit unusual. She wanted to go and take a look in person, but she had to be in charge of the martial soul city at the moment. Not many of the consecrators were convinced by her, and there were even several forces in the martial soul hall that were competing with each other. She had to stay in the martial soul city and eliminate all the internal problems of the martial soul hall. It was a very exhausting power struggle, but Bibi Dong had to persevere. Soon, Ghost Charm and Yu Guan arrived at the Pontus Palace. Bibi Dong gave an order after telling them what had happened. Please go to Heavendo City and investigate this Thanos. Rescuing Luan while you're at it. Ghost Charm and Yu Guan had always been on Bibi Dong's side, and she had never mistreated them. She had always provided them with a lot of resources. Now that they were asked to do something, the two of them didn't waste any words. Yu Guan nodded and said, "With old Ghost and me, there definitely won't be a problem." Ghost Charm didn't say anything. He just chuckled creepily. "Go!" Bibi Dong waved his hand. "Also, help me find out how strong that girl is." "No problem." The two of them had already left the palace and were rushing toward Heavendo City as their voices echoed throughout the palace. The martial soul city was quite far from Heavendo City. It would take a titled battle pet warrior half a day to fly there. However, flying consumed a lot of soul power. Even Dusty Heart's sword kinesis flight consumed a lot of soul power. Therefore, even a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo would mainly walk. He would only fly when he encountered some special terrain. This way, he could conserve soul power and maintain his combat ability. Otherwise, if he ran out of soul power and ran into an enemy, wouldn't he be courting death? Still, a titled battle pet warrior like Douluo could travel quite fast even on foot. At least, he was faster than a carriage. They would arrive at Heavendo City in 3 days at most. As for why Lin Feng was traveling so fast, why was he using soul skills so often? Was there a need to ask? How could a cheater compare to a normal player? His soul skills didn't consume a lot of soul power, and he could recover them quickly. He was almost like a perpetual motion machine. Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo were rushing toward Heavendo City. Lin Feng had already returned to the Icefire Yin Yang well and continued to soak in the hot spring. He smiled happily as he watched his experience bar continue to rise. The next morning, at the Shrek Academy, the Crown Prince came to find them with a soul bone. Tang San and the others had been looking forward to it ever since they heard from Lin Feng that the Crown Prince would bring the soul bone over in the next few days. Today, the Crown Prince really came. Everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation. It had to be said that Xue Qinghe was really good at pretending to be the Crown Prince. His etiquette and behavior were impeccable. His strong affinity made everyone feel as if they were bathing in a spring breeze. After he took out the soul bone and exchanged it with Tang San, he smiled and discussed the use of the soul bone with everyone. After all, he had confirmed that he was going to cooperate with Thanos, so he also had to be on good terms with Lin Feng. Of course, he had to spare no effort to curry favor with Shrek's 7 monsters. This is a flaming bird's left arm bone. It's a little over 10,000 years old. I just got it not long ago. I don't know what it will do for Soul Masters, but I recommend Soul Masters with Fire-type martial souls to use it. Hearing this, everyone looked at Ma Hongjun. Chapter 246. The flaming bird's left arm bone. Isn't this tailor-made for Fatty? It's a fire attribute soul bone. If Fatty uses it, it should give him the greatest boost. Fatty's luck is good. His strength will increase by a lot now. They had already discussed before that this soul bone would belong to whoever was suitable. Now it seemed that it was most suitable for Ma Hongjun. Tang San and Xiao Wu didn't have any objections, so everyone was happy for Ma Hongjun. Is this really for me? Isn't it a bit wasteful? Why don't third brother use it? Ma Hongjun said with some apprehension. After all, Lin Feng was originally given to Tang San, so it was still somewhat inappropriate for him to use it now. It's okay. This soul bone is more suitable for you. You will be able to unleash its greatest power when you use it. Furthermore, my martial soul is blue silvergrass. If I use this, There might be a conflict, Tang San said. At this moment, the master at the side also said, "That's right, this soul bone is best for you to use." The master was very clear about soul bones. Although Tang San's strength would increase by a lot if he used it, and the final effect would be very good, it was still slightly inferior to a suitable soul master like Ma Hongjun. Seeing that everyone agreed to him using the soul bone, Ma Hongjun was extremely touched. He originally thought that he had no fate with soul bones in his life. He didn't expect that he would obtain such a treasure as a soul elder. Not far away, Flanders, who was quietly hiding behind a tree, also sighed with emotion. He hadn't even used the soul bone himself, but he didn't expect his disciple to use it first. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We brothers don't need to say anything more. As long as you need me, Ma Hongjun, in the future, I will not shirk my duty. This kindness was too great. Including the immortal grass from before, Ma Hongjun's gratitude towards Lin Feng and his siblings was simply through the roof. Quickly absorb the soul bone. We are all very curious about the effects of the soul bone. Everyone urged. Upon hearing this, Ma Hongjun hurriedly reined in his emotions before picking up the soul bone with a serious look on his face. Absorbing a soul bone is much easier than absorbing a soul ring. For the left arm bone, just place it on your left hand and use your soul power to communicate with it. According to the master, it only took Ma Hongjun half a minute to completely absorb the left arm bone of the flaming bird. Yellow, yellow, purple. 3 soul rings appeared as Ma Hongjun's martial soul automatically attached itself to his body. His entire left arm immediately burned with raging flames. Because of the blazing text picture, the people nearby automatically distanced themselves from Ma Hongjun. This situation lasted for a few seconds before Ma Hongjun managed to control it and retracted it. However, the clothes on his left arm had been completely burned. What a powerful aura! It's comparable to that of a soul ancestor. Tang Sin muttered. Ning Rongrong had already asked, "How is it?" "Fatty, what kind of upgrade did this soul bone give you?" Ma Hongjun said excitedly, "My attributes have at least doubled, and my soul skills have also increased by a small amount. The most important thing is that it also comes with an extremely powerful soul skill. I call it the Raging Flaming Hand. After using it, my left hand will directly turn into raging flames, and I can throw fireballs. It also has an extremely powerful attack power. Even a defense-type soul ancestor would find it hard to block my attack." Fatty's third soul skill was the Phoenix Wing Strike. After using it, his hands would turn into a pair of flaming wings. He could fly by flapping them, and his attacks would be accompanied by raging flames. Finally, he could even throw this ball of energy to create an explosion. This was already an extremely powerful soul skill that could even threaten a soul ancestor. However, compared to the Raging Flaming Hand, it was still a level lower. His Raging Flaming Hand could probably threaten a soul king. So strong. It's stronger than both of my soul skills combined. Dai Mubai's mouth was as sour as a lemon. Fatty is now the main attacker of the team. Even I can't compare to you. Xiao Wu chuckled. The others also expressed their envy. This soul bone had greatly increased Ma Hongjun's strength. Among the 7 of them, his Raging Flaming Hand was probably ranked first in terms of attack power. Tang San's blue-silver cage from before shouldn't be able to stop him. The Grandmaster also laughed. When you guys break through again, the championship of this tournament will be in the bag. Congratulations in advance to Shrek Academy for clinching the championship. Shueqinghe also congratulated them. Just like that, Shueqinghe chatted for a while more before leaving. He saw how powerful Shrek's 7 monsters were. Although he wasn't sure of their exact strength, they shouldn't be inferior to Ma Hongjun. Befriending them now would be of great use in the future. Very quickly, 3 days passed. On this afternoon, Shueqinghe was cultivating in his room when a hoarse voice sounded in his ear. "How have you been, Your Highness?" As the voice sounded, 2 figures quietly appeared in front of Shueqinghe. "Not bad." Shueqinghe stood up and bowed slightly to the 2 of them. "Qinghe greets the 2 of you." Hearing this, Yu Guan and Gue Mei's expressions changed slightly. but they didn't say anything. They didn't exchange too much pleasantries. Ying Luan was still captured, so they had to hurry. Therefore, Yu Guan asked Xue Qinghe about the specific situation. 10 minutes later, the two of them left the room and went straight to the setting sun forest. In the same room, Xue Qinghe smiled. Everything was under control. He was quite good at making up stories. He easily created the image that Lin Feng was going to imprison Ying Luan for a long time and use him to threaten the martial soul hall. He didn't say anything about Douluo. On one hand, it was Lin Feng's request. On the other hand, he wanted to leave some leeway for this plan. If everything in the plan was laid out in the open, then the plan wouldn't be flexible. Douluo hiding in the dark was the flexibility of this plan. At this moment, in the setting sun forest, Lin Feng was living very leisurely. He was carrying out a major transformation of the ice fire yin-yang well. He wanted to build a villa. After all, this place was where he would live for a long time in the future. It wouldn't be a loss to make a good renovation. Previously, he had been sleeping in a house transformed by the Thousand Chance ruler. However, it was fine for emergencies, but after sleeping for a long time, it felt strange. It was better to build a real house. Not only a house, but also a garden, a square, a courtyard, a hot spring, and so on. A villa covered the entire valley. Whether it was the immortal herbs or the ice fire yin-yang well, they all became a part of this villa. The feeling of building bit by bit was quite good for Lin Feng. Lin Feng was full of details about these things. The carvings, decorations, and the placement of every item were all paid attention to by Lin Feng. That way, Lin Feng would feel a great sense of accomplishment after he finished building it. Just as he was building the base, like a hard-working MC player, he sensed two powerful soul power fluctuations nearby. Chapter 247. Yu Guan and Gue Mei had worked together for many years. When they joined forces, they were extremely powerful. Their thoughts were very simple. They would directly come over and fight head-on. So what if Thanos was rank 95? He was probably just lucky enough to catch Ying Luan. In the hands of the two of them, it was not a problem at all. They could directly come over and kill him, then rescue Ying Luan and bring him back. Therefore, they didn't try to hide and started searching in the forest. At the same time, Lin Feng paused for a moment inside the maze, then continued to build. His avatar appeared behind him. Xue Qinghe's cooperation was quite reliable. He said he would get 2 titled battle pet warriors to fight Douluo in a week, and they came immediately. Their soul power undulations were similar to Douluo's. If he guessed correctly, they should be the classic duo of Yu Guan and Ghost Charm. Both were rank 95 titled battle pet warriors. They worked well together and were very strong. Lin Feng didn't dare to underestimate them. 7th soul skill, martial soul, true body 3rd soul skill, armored demon bear 5th soul skill, nether body 6th soul skill. Lightning force. Lin Feng used all 4 of his status type soul skills at the same time. Then he flew into the sky. Without any hesitation, Lin Feng's goal was to fight. As soon as he got close to the two of them, he directly smashed out with his staff. The club was almost 10 meters long. Like Lin Feng, it was in an illusory state. The moment it was about to hit the two, it turned from illusory to solid and burst out with great power. The two weren't standing together. Lin Feng's target was Ghost Charm. Yu Guan reminded him, "Old ghost behind you." Piece of cake. Ghost Charm disappeared and reappeared behind Lin Feng in an instant. Then, a black soul ring shone behind him. His hands turned into a pair of huge black claws. He clawed Lin Feng out of his illusory state. Ghost was a titled battle pet warrior of the agility family, Douluo. He was fast and had quick reflexes. Lin Feng had fallen into his trap. On the other side, Yu Guan directly used his martial soul true body, and a huge chrysanthemum appeared. Following that, the 8th soul ring was released, and the chrysanthemum flower suddenly swayed. Thousands of petals turned into streaks of light that flew towards Lin Feng. 8th soul skill, boundless flowing light. This was an extremely powerful single-target soul skill. Even a defense-type title battle pet warrior like Douluo would be injured if he took it head-on. If Lin Feng was hit, he would be seriously injured at the very least. Lin Feng did not panic. With a thought, A part of the thousand-trick ruler turned into a stream of light and flew behind Yuguan. In the next second, the stream of light turned into a human figure and swapped places with the body in the ghost's hand. This happened in an instant. No matter how fast Ghost and Yuguan reacted, they did not expect Lin Feng to have such a soul skill. Taking advantage of this opening, Lin Feng directly punched out. Lightning surrounded his fist, and there was even a trace of fire. This punch was very powerful. Poor Yuguan's chrysanthemum flower was smashed open by this punch. He was sent flying. If Ghost had not caught him, he would have been sent flying hundreds of meters away. Just as he fell into his arms, he spat out a mouthful of blood. In order to prevent himself from being pursued, Gue Mei immediately unleashed his martial soul true body, bringing Yuguan along. He turned into a dark shadow and spun around rapidly. He was so fast that Lin Feng could not lock onto them. What a fast martial soul! Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. In the shadow, Yuguan immediately drank a mouthful of recuperation medicine. After a while, he said, "This guy is very strong. His soul skill is very strange. I feel that it's not just rank 95. It might be rank 96. It's very strong, but it's still within an acceptable range. Later, you attract his attention, and I'll sneak attack." Ghost's hoarse voice sounded. "Okay." Yuguan nodded and jumped out of the shadow. His martial soul swayed gently. Countless flower petals appeared in the surrounding space. They were beautiful and dangerous. Cold light flickered on them, and they instantly attacked Lin Feng. The reason why Yuguan was hit earlier was because he did not understand Lin Feng's soul skill. At the same time, they had underestimated him, but now they were fully focused. As long as Lin Feng dared to use that move again, they would make him pay a painful price. Small matter. Facing these thousands of flower petals, Lin Feng did not panic. The thousand-trickery ruler turned into a circular barrier and easily blocked them. Hurricane reaches the sky. Yuguan's chrysanthemum flower continued to sway. The flower petals turned into a tornado and blew towards Lin Feng. This scene made Lin Feng recall the soul skill on his wind dragon left leg bone. Hasaru. With that thought, he kicked out with his left leg. A formless energy condensed between his legs, and in the next second, a giant tornado dozens of meters in size appeared. It easily kicked Yuguan's small tornado away. This is a Soul Bone's soul skill. It's so strong. Yuguan felt that the Soul Bone's power was beyond his imagination. Soul Bones did not have soul skills 100% of the time. He and Ghost had soul bones in their bodies, and they were not weak. However, they felt that they were not at Lin Feng's level. The giant tornado's destructive power was extremely strong. Wherever it went, trees and the ground would be affected. Fortunately, Lin Feng was controlling it in real time. After seeing Yuguan dodge, he directly dissipated it. At this time, Yuguan had already started another attack. His soul power surged, and the chrysanthemum in his hand split into three. Then they pressed down on Lin Feng together. Under such circumstances, Lin Feng discovered that the surrounding space was being suppressed. Even if he wanted to teleport, he would have to spend some time. This move was extremely powerful. However, Lin Feng's expression did not change. His eyes suddenly turned blood red, and he looked straight at Yuguan. This was the second soul skill on the Chinquan Blood Shadow Bee Skull, Blood Fiend. This was a spiritual type soul skill. If one's strength was weak, or if one's spiritual power was weak, they would be instantly turned into a fool. Then, they would madly vent their soul power. Yuguan's strength was not weak, and his spiritual power was also very strong. However, under the impact of Lin Feng's Blood Fiend, he could not help but be affected. He was momentarily stunned, and his soul skill lost its effect. If Yuguan was alone at this moment, Lin Feng could teleport behind him and kill him with one slash of his blade. However, it was very clear that he was not alone. Just as Lin Feng activated Blood Fiend, Ghost Demon seized the opportunity and made his move. His 9th and 8th soul rings lit up at the same time. A black hole appeared above Lin Feng's head. Countless ghosts flew out and entangled towards Lin Feng. These ghosts contained huge soul power undulations. Lin Feng knew that if he was entangled, there would probably be an intense explosion. He wanted to dodge, but Ghost Demon suddenly appeared beside him. His entire body turned into a huge demonic shadow, and a claw grabbed towards Lin Feng. Chapter 248. Gui may use two soul skills at the same time. He even used a soul skill from one of his soul bones to lock down Lin Feng's space temporarily. Lin Feng couldn't even resist the attack of the huge, ghostly figure. The ghostly aura seemed to be restraining Lin Feng, forcing him to enter the black hole above his head. At this moment, Lin Feng's body was covered in ghostly figures. Gui Mei immediately left and detonated the ghostly figures with his soul power. Boom! Boom! After the huge explosion, Yu Guan came back to his senses and continued to control his chrysanthemum. Bang! Like a fly swatting a mosquito, the cloud of dust was slapped to the ground by Yu Guan's 3 chrysanthemums. Seeing this, Gui Mei and Yu Guan glanced at each other, both beaming. Gui Mei's 9th soul skill was very powerful. This guy had taken the full brunt of it. With Yu Guan's attack, even a rank 97 title Douluo would die, let alone a rank 96 title battle pet warrior. Not far away, Douluo was hiding quietly. Next to him, Ying Luan was tightly bound and couldn't say a word. A few days ago, Lin Feng told Douluo that there might be a big battle here. If there were less than 3 enemies, he didn't have to come out, no matter what happened. If there were more than 3 enemies, he would come out directly. Now, Lin Feng felt like he was about to explode. Should he go out? Gui Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo. Douluo knew who they were. He couldn't beat them both, but he could save Lin Feng and escape. His poison was so useless because Lin Feng countered it. However, it was still very powerful in the eyes of other title battle pet warriors like Douluo. He could use the poisonous fog to bring Huiyuhao away. Just as he was thinking about this, the dust settled, and Lin Feng appeared with many holes in his clothes. Very good. The two of you worked together very well. You actually managed to injure me. To be honest, Lin Feng was still very surprised by the perfect cooperation between the two. Whether it was the timing of Ghost's attack, the degree of completion of his attack, or the coordination with Moon Pass, they were all textbook examples. Lin Feng himself was not at this level. In fact, he was far from it. If not for his own strength, he might have died this time. At that time, he couldn't teleport, and his vision was completely blocked. His entire body was restricted by a force. Even his nether body couldn't avoid this kind of damage. The ghost martial spirit was very strange. Lin Feng had never seen such a martial spirit before. Now that he had encountered it, it was rather troublesome. This was because Gui Mei was not strong enough. Otherwise, if he was strong enough and had a powerful weapon in his hand, he would have been fatally injured. While Lin Feng was thinking about this, Gui Mei and Yu Guan were both shocked. How is that possible? How'd he survive that? No matter how they looked at it, Lin Feng couldn't be Douluo, a title battle pet warrior of the defense family. Unless Lin Feng was at rank 99, he couldn't have survived their joint attack. What was more frightening was that Lin Feng didn't seem to have suffered any serious injuries. Douluo was just as surprised. He didn't think that Lin Feng would die, but he thought that he would be severely wounded. It turned out that Lin Feng was only slightly wounded. Now it's my turn to fight back. Lin Feng's life force quietly emerged and enveloped him, restoring him to his peak state. One thing that surprised Lin Feng was that the ghost martial spirit's soul power not only restrained his nether body, but also his life force. He was able to recover quickly, but at twice the normal speed. That was something that Lin Feng was very concerned about. If he were in an environment full of soul power, his life force would be weakened. But soon, Lin Feng didn't think about that. He was still in the middle of the battle. When he was fully recovered, Lin Feng teleported in front of the two. Space confinement, activate. For a moment, the two couldn't move. They tried to break free immediately, but they still needed time. However, the ghost martial spirit was very special. It turned into a black shadow and was immune to the space confinement. But he had paid a huge price to shrink his martial spirit true body. Of course, he didn't come out to attack Lin Feng. When Lin Feng survived their joint attack, they knew that they couldn't deal with him. This masked man named Thanos was a monster. His martial spirit was too powerful. It was definitely a super powerful, mutated martial spirit, even more powerful than the ghost martial spirit. At the moment, the ghost martial spirit only had one thing in mind, which was to run away. Old Ghost, martial spirit fusion skill. Yuan also realized this and quickly shouted. The ghost martial spirit instantly wrapped around Yuguan's body, and the two of them emitted an extremely powerful soul power fluctuation. Martial spirit fusion skill, polar static domain. The space confinement was instantly dispersed by this soul power. Lin Feng's charging momentum was instantly stopped, and he couldn't move. This feeling was very similar to Douluo's 8th soul skill, and even to Lin Feng's space confinement. They were both control-type soul skills. However, this was the martial spirit fusion skill of Yuguan and the ghost martial spirit. It was too powerful. Lin Feng was strong, but in front of this kind of soul power, he couldn't break free in a short period of time. He couldn't teleport either. His soul power seemed to be frozen. However, the soul skills that he had released earlier were still there, especially the first soul skill, Life Bloom. A rich life force surrounded Lin Feng. Seeing this, the ghost martial spirit instantly left with Yuguan. It was impossible to kill Lin Feng. This guy's defense was too strong, and he even had such an amazing recovery ability. Moreover, they had used their big moves in succession, so they didn't have much soul power left. Under such circumstances, running away was the wisest choice. After the two of them left, the fusion skill seemed to have lost its support. After only a second, Lin Feng broke free. These two guys can actually use a martial spirit fusion skill. To be honest, this was something that Lin Feng never expected. He had already forgotten the details of the original story about the titled Douluo of the Martial Spirit Hall. He knew about Yuguan and the ghost martial spirits' martial souls and ranks, but he had forgotten that they could use a martial spirit fusion skill. Their control was too strong, and they even sealed space. It was simply unbreakable. A martial spirit fusion skill was a fusion of a soul master's soul power and released it in multiples. If two rank 95 titled Douluo used a martial spirit fusion skill together, it would probably be broken by a rank 99 soul master. At this moment, the system notification sounded. Ding! After a thrilling battle, the host defeated the rank 95 titled Douluo and the rank 95 titled Douluo Ghost Martial Spirit. Battle experience increased. Experience plus 741544682. Chapter 249. The two of them gave him a total of more than 70 million experience points. This battle was really worth it. However, Lin Feng also knew that his shortcomings were too obvious. That was, his combat level was too low. It was time to raise his combat level. Fighting with an experienced baby, other than giving him experience, he couldn't get anything else. In the battle just now, Yuguan's martial soul was relatively normal, but Gue Mei was completely different. Not only did his martial soul restrain his soul skills, but his attack rhythm and timing were also better than his. In fact, from Soul Sage onwards, apart from pure support-type soul masters, the difference in strength between other soul masters was mainly reflected in martial souls, soul rings, and soul bones. Soul rings and soul bones aside, Lin Feng felt that he was still very strong, mainly because of his martial soul. Lin Feng had seen too few martial souls. The academy mainly taught about soul beasts, but martial souls were only taught in general. There were no details at all. In the library, he couldn't find any books on this. At most, there were only books that had a better understanding of well-known martial souls. As for Master, he didn't know much about martial souls. Some of his knowledge about martial souls was based on soul beasts. For example, Gue Douluo's martial soul was definitely a variant. It was the first time Lin Feng had seen such a type of martial soul. It restrained him too much. It seemed that he needed to pick up the few aliases in the Great Soul Arena again and see more different martial souls to understand their characteristics. The Great Soul Arena in Heavendo City was considered the most luxurious Great Soul Arena in the entire Heavendo Empire. There were many soul masters fighting here every day, and the quality of the soul masters couldn't be compared to other places. For example, in Soto City, the most soul masters were actually soul grandmasters and soul elders. There weren't many soul masters above soul ancestor. Sometimes, it would take half a day to match. But in Heavendo City, there were many soul grandmasters and soul elders, but there were also many soul masters above soul ancestor. One could even see a battle between soul sages. One had to know that soul sages were the tasks of the patriarchs in some small clans. In large clans, soul sages were usually elders. Only a super organization like the Martial Spirit Hall would have more soul sages than the other organizations. Such a rare soul master would only appear once every half a year in Heavendo City. A soul emperor could find an opponent after a few days, but a soul king could probably find an opponent in 1 or 2 hours. A soul ancestor was a perfect rank. Just like the soul exalts in the other soul dueling arenas, it would be easy to find an opponent in just a few minutes. Lin Feng was prepared to fight as a soul ancestor. He also needed to practice his multitasking ability. During this period of time, he had relaxed a little. After such a long time, he was barely able to multitask. He couldn't even control 7 people at the same time. His Avengers alliance was still a little lacking. "Sir, are you all right?" At this moment, Douluo walked over with Luan. "It's fine. These two are not weak." "Interesting." Lin Feng chuckled. He wasn't afraid that the other party was strong, because the stronger they were, the better. It wasn't as if he was courting death with his true body. It was just an incarnation. So how could he fight with them like this? If worst came to worst, his avatar would be destroyed, and he would get the experience points and leave. He would wait for his avatar to recover, and then he would come out again. Disaster was always one step behind him. "Sir, I know these two guys. They are from the Martial Spirit Hall. Their names are Chrysanthemum Douluo Yuguan and Ghost Douluo Guei Mei. They're both rank 95 titled off. If Douluo had met these two in the past, he would have run as soon as he saw them. These two guys were the killing gods of the Martial Spirit Hall. If the two of them attacked Douluo together, he wouldn't be able to escape. But now, Douluo had broken through, and his martial soul had evolved. Even if he faced 2 people at the same time, as long as the other party didn't use a martial soul fusion skill, he could even fight against them for a short time. People from the Martial Spirit Hall. It's normal, Lin Feng said casually. Sure, Yin was thinking whether he should make a bigger maze formation. Otherwise, his formation was too small. If the Martial Spirit Palace sent too many people, they might be discovered. "Sir, how should we deal with this Luan?" Douluo raised the sealed Luan in his hand. This guy was really pitiful. He had no choice but to lower his head under the eaves. Recently, he had been beaten by Lin Feng. Lin Feng also didn't give him any life force to recover. He had been healing himself all this time. Now Douluo had captured him and sealed his soul power. He was really pitiful. When he heard that Douluo wanted to punish him, he was anxious. It wasn't that he was going to die. It was that these 2 people had nothing to do with him. Even if they wanted to kill him, they had to make him say those words. He didn't want to die unjustly. Don't worry about him. Just be like before. Lin Feng glanced at him. Stay here. With that, he left. In the past few days, the experience that Douluo and Luan provided to Lin Feng plummeted. At most, in half a month, these 2 experienced babies wouldn't have to constantly rely on him. Furthermore, Lin Feng was preparing to properly practice his combat skills. The immortal herbs near the ice-fire yin-yang well could also be nurtured. Speaking of which, the immortal herbs provided very little experience. Soaking in a hot spring for a day and eating immortal herbs for a day would only give him about 4 to 5 million experience. This efficiency was too low. Lin Feng didn't like it. That's right, he was getting carried away. In the past, he felt that 1 million experience points a day was already a lot. Now that his horizons had been broadened, a few million wasn't much. Guei Mei and Yuguan ran away. They had expended a lot of soul power and weren't at their peak. They found a small town near the setting sun forest and hid there to recover their soul power. A day later, the two of them rushed to Heaven City. This Thanos was too strong. He might be a super expert above rank 97. The two of them couldn't complete the mission. They had to ask the Pope, should they send more people or give up on Ingluan? At the same time, they had to ask for Schwetching's opinion. Actually, the most important thing was that the Martial Soul Hall still didn't know where Thanos came from. He was too mysterious. They really didn't know anything. Otherwise, they would have been able to respond accordingly. Soon, the two of them found Schwetching in a room. Elders, has Elder Ingluan been rescued? Schwetching asked with a nervous expression. Your Highness, that Thanos is too strong. He might be above rank 97, and his martial soul is very strong. It might be a top-grade, mutated martial soul. The two of us didn't manage to rescue Ingluan this time. Gui didn't like to speak in long sentences, so it was usually Yuguan who spoke. How is Elder Ingluan now? Schwetching had a concerned expression. Chapter 250. Well, Yuguan looked uneasy. Then, he said, we didn't see Shadow Wheel this time. We ran into Thanos directly. We fought with him and came back. This was actually a huge mistake. The two of them were too arrogant. Normally, a rescue mission should have been carried out after a thorough investigation. They didn't take Thanos seriously. Therefore, they swaggered over. They didn't expect that Thanos would be so strong that they came back without even seeing Shadow Wheel. Schwetching didn't expect that they wouldn't even see Shadow Wheel. That was not what he had expected. But soon he asked, Elders, are you going to go again? Thanos is too strong. This is a matter of great importance. I think we should report this to the Pope. What do you think, Your Highness? Yuguan asked. Thanos was too strong. He wasn't one of those low-level titled battle pet warriors from Douluo. He might be a super powerful warrior who had been hiding from the world. After all, there were quite a few powerful warriors on the Douluo continent. There was no direct evidence, but the Martial Spirit Palace could make some guesses. The Martial Spirit Palace would have to pay a high price to kill such a powerful warrior. It was still unknown whether Shadow Wheel was worth the price. The Pope would have to decide whether to send more people or give up on Shadow Wheel. Can't we negotiate directly? Schwetching asked. Your Highness, we fought with him yesterday, and we are on bad terms. It's too late to negotiate. Yuguan heaved a sigh. It would be best if they could negotiate or invite him to join the Martial Spirit Palace. But the current situation didn't allow for that. How can we not try? We have to try first, Schwetching insisted. Or should we give up on Eldering Wheel? Well, Yuguan was at a loss for words. As a matter of fact, he and Ghost were thinking of giving up on Shadow Wheel. After all, it was too difficult to send someone to save him. They knew the Martial Spirit Palace's situation very well. They weren't united at the moment. If he asked people from other factions to come and save them, they wouldn't listen at all. They might even cause trouble because Ingluan was part of the Pope's faction. And if the Pope's faction were to come and rescue them, the other factions in Martial Spirit City might even rebel, and the Pope might even be replaced. Furthermore, the Heaven Do Empire wasn't blind. The Seven Treasures Glaze sect and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan wouldn't just stand by and watch. Therefore, if they tried to save Ingluan by force, the disadvantages would outweigh the advantages. I won't give up on Elder Ingluan, but everything needs to be decided by the Pope. Of course, Yuguan couldn't directly say that he would give up on Elder Ingluan. At this time, he could only find a reason. Hearing this, Schwetching has said without hesitation, there's no need. The Pope is so cold-blooded. He must have given up on Elder Ingluan. How about this? I'll personally go and negotiate with Thanos. You two should be ready to support me. Absolutely not. The plan Your Highness is participating in is of great importance. You must not ruin it because of Shadow Wheel. Yuguan hurriedly said. He was probably the only person in the entire continent who dared to say that the Pope was cold-blooded. None of them dared to say anything. So you're going to give up on Elder Ingluan? Schwetching asked. Of course not, Gui said. This matter needs to be decided by the Pope. So you've decided to give up on Elder Ingluan? Your Highness, you're being unreasonable. Yuguan was a little angry. The Pope definitely won't save Elder Ingluan. Am I wrong? Schwetching asked. The two were speechless for a moment. Xueqinghe understood the Pope very well. The two of them were the same type of people. Their personalities were so similar. Yuguan and Gue Mei also understood the Pope. They knew that she wouldn't ruin the plan for Yingluan. But at this time, Xueqinghe didn't want them to give up on Yingluan. This made things difficult. In their opinion, Yingluan had been in Heavendo City for a long time and had interacted with Xueqinghe a lot. After so long, Xueqinghe had a sense of kinship with Yingluan. It was because of this that Xueqinghe opposed giving up on Yingluan. If Xueqinghe knew what the two of them were thinking, he would probably laugh out loud. Yingluan had been monitoring him all this time. Kinship? If it weren't for the cooperation with Thanos, he felt that it would be best if Yingluan died. Elders, let's choose to negotiate. With Elder Ghost protecting me, my safety is still guaranteed. Xueqinghe muttered to himself. Gue Mei was very fast and had a strange martial soul. Even Yingluan couldn't compare to him. Let us think about this matter. We'll give His Highness a reply later. Yu Guan and Gue Mei quickly disappeared. At this time, the two of them were very annoyed. Xueqinghe's method was feasible, but was it really good to make a decision without reporting this matter to the Pope? The main reason was that it was too troublesome to report this. This kind of confidential situation naturally couldn't be reported directly through the information channel. They had to go back and report it personally. And this back and forth was too time-consuming. It would probably take a few days for His Highness and the Pope to reach a consensus. So now the two of them were very conflicted. Should they listen to His Highness and negotiate? Or should they report and give up on Yingluan? The former was risky, but if they succeeded, the benefits would be great. The latter wasn't risky, but they would lose a title Douluo. Furthermore, His Highness might hold a grudge against them. In the end, the two of them decided to choose the former. There was a risk, but Gue Mei was confident that he could protect Xueqinghe's life. Even if it didn't work out, Yuguan would appear. The two of them released their martial soul fusion skill again and left. Just like this, Xueqinghe, Yuguan, and Gue Mei rushed toward the setting sun forest. On the way, Xueqinghe was in a good mood because everything was under control. His cooperation with Lin Feng was very simple. They would fight, then negotiate and release Yingluan. After a while, they would capture Yingluan again. Xueqinghe would call them over and fight again. Xueqinghe knew the current situation of the Martial Soul Hall. This situation was very feasible. Moreover, it was very likely that the people who came would be Yu Guan and Gue Mei, because at this time, there were only two titled Douluo who were free to roam around the Pope. If this happened a few times, the Martial Soul Hall might not come, and the Pope would also realize that something was wrong. Xueqinghe's strange behavior. At that time, there would be two possibilities. First, the Martial Soul Hall would pretend that nothing had happened. Xueqinghe's training with the Martial Soul Hall might be directly cut off. Thanos, Yingluan, and Bibi Dong wouldn't care. Second, Bibi Dong would personally bring people over to teach Xueqinghe a lesson. And between the two possibilities, the latter was obviously more likely. Chapter 251. If Lin Feng had to sum up Xueqinghe's plan, it could be summed up in 4 words: repeatedly jumping around. This kind of behavior was too despicable, but Lin Feng liked it very much because he wasn't the one who was disgusted. At noon, Lin Feng, who had been working hard all morning, finally finished building his villa. A swimming pool, a garden, a medicinal field, a hot spring, a villa, ornaments, and so on. Everything was there. It made people feel relaxed and happy. At this time, one of his doppelgangers outside the maze sensed a special soul power fluctuation. It was a signal that Xueqinghe had agreed on with him. After Lin Feng received the signal, he immediately summoned his doppelganger and went to Douluo's side. A few days ago, Douluo had helped his granddaughter, Yin, obtain a soul ring. Now, in addition to cultivating, he was fiddling with poisons. Of course, he was still beaten up by Lin Feng every day. But today, he and Yingluan had already been beaten up. Why was Lin Feng here again? But he didn't say anything. Instead, he stood up and cupped his hands. "Sir, what can I do for you?" Yingluan, who was recovering, was submissive when he saw Lin Feng. This guy was simply a devil. Not only did he abuse him every day, but he also beat up his subordinate, Douluo. What a pervert. Nothing. I just came to take a look. Lin Feng smiled and looked around. Then, he looked at Ying Luan with interest. Your Highness Ying Luan, how are you doing here? This is good. What else could he say? Ying Luan could only say good. What? I can't hear you. Lin Feng picked his ear. Sir, I'm fine. Ying Luan quickly stood up and said, You're so weak. I can't hear you at all. Did you not eat? Why are you speaking so softly? Douluo hurriedly asked from the side. He thought that Lin Feng had come to discipline Ying Luan, so he helped him. Sir, I'm fine. Ying Luan quickly said loudly. Good. Very energetic. Lin Feng nodded with a strange expression. He had only asked casually, but he hadn't expected Ying Luan to have such a big reaction. At this moment, Lin Feng sensed that Xue Qinghe was already nearby. He said, Douluo, go and welcome the guest. Guest. Douluo was stunned, but he quickly sensed Yu Guan's aura. While escorting Xue Qinghe to negotiate, Yu Guan was in the light while Gue Mei was in the dark. Therefore, Douluo was the first to sense Yu Guan's aura. My lord, please wait a moment. As he spoke, Douluo went to welcome him. In fact, Yu Guan and Douluo had enmity, and the enmity wasn't low. However, since Lin Feng said that he was a guest, Douluo didn't dare to say anything. Old Chrysanthemum, consider yourself lucky this time. I've come under the orders of the Lord to bring you in. Otherwise, the two of us would have to fight today, Douluo said while standing in the air. Old Poison, I never would have thought that you would actually be here. This left Yu Guan stunned. His brows furrowed tightly, and he stopped moving. In the dark, Gue Mei's expression also changed. He appeared beside Xue Qinghe, ready to retreat at any time. In the situation that Xue Qinghe told them, there was no such person as Douluo, let alone his level 95 strength. Even so, Yu Guan and Gue Mei both stopped vigilantly. Thanos alone was enough to fight against the two of them. If Douluo came, then the danger level of this trip would increase exponentially. However, what did Douluo mean when he said that he had come under the orders of the Lord? Thanos had specially come to let them in, and Douluo had already sided with Thanos? For a moment, Yu Guan and Gue Mei were hesitant. They quickly communicated in the dark. At this moment, Xue Qinghe said, What are you hesitating for? Let's go in. If they really wanted to harm us and ambush us just now, we wouldn't have been able to escape. Douluo said with a smile, That's right. If it weren't for the martial spirit palace behind you, the Lord would have already killed you. Why would he let you in? Hearing this, Yu Guan and Gue Mei's hearts tightened. That was true, but if they really wanted to leave, they could still do so. It was just that Xue Qinghe might die. However, the current situation was somewhat irreversible. It was up to Xue Qinghe to decide. Thinking about this, Yu Guan transmitted a message to Xue Qinghe, explaining the current situation. Xue Qinghe immediately said, Let's go in. At this point, it's much more dangerous to not go in. Hearing this, the two looked at each other, sighed, and led Xue Qinghe and Douluo in. The group arrived in front of a small pavilion. Lin Feng was sitting in the middle of the pavilion. On the other side, Ying Luan looked at them with a complicated expression. Just now, Lin Feng casually gave Ying Luan a ball of life force to restore him to his peak state. Now that Yu Guan and Gue Mei had come, Ying Luan felt that he was going to be let go. Therefore, his expression was somewhat complicated. Since you're here, come and sit. Lin Feng smiled at the three. Douluo had already come to Ying Luan's side and stood with him. As for Yu Guan and Gue Mei, they had been in a state of vigilance. If there was a situation, they would use their martial soul fusion skill and leave with Xue Qinghe. Let's talk while standing. It's too polite to sit down. Yu Guan raised his voice. The pavilion was only so big. If they sat so close to Lin Feng, all three of them would die if the other party attacked. After all, this guy's martial soul was too strange. Their strongest attack couldn't defeat him. His defense was so strong. To them, Lin Feng was a big boss that they couldn't break through. At most, they could only scratch him. Under such circumstances, how could they dare to get close? All right, Lin Feng didn't make things difficult for them. Then he asked Xue Qinghe, "What do you want to do by bringing two people here today?" "We're here to negotiate." Xue Qinghe said, "As long as you let Elder Yinglun go, we'll try our best to satisfy your demands." "Yes, our martial soul hall won't treat you unfairly." Yu Guan added, "100,000-year soul beast." Lin Feng raised a finger. "As long as your martial soul hall can get me 100,000-year soul beast, Ying Luan can be taken away." "How is that possible?" Yu Guan exclaimed. "Who can catch 100,000-year soul beast?" 100,000-year soul beast was extremely powerful. More than 10 titled Douluo had to be mobilized to kill 100,000-year soul beast. After all, 100,000-year soul beast was too difficult to kill. It was easy to attract a second one. Among the 10 titled Douluo soul masters, half of them were guarding against other 100,000-year soul beasts, while the other half were the main attackers. From this, one could see how precious 100,000-year soul beast was. Now, Lin Feng wanted them to use 100,000-year soul beast to exchange for Ying Luan. On one hand, they didn't have it. On the other hand, Ying Luan's value couldn't compare to 100,000-year soul beast. Chapter 252. Although it was a little hurtful to say that Ying Luan couldn't compare to a 100,000-year soul beast, it was the truth. A 100,000-year soul ring and a 100,000-year soul bone. If given to a soul Douluo, he could instantly obtain the strength of a rank 95 titled Douluo. Ying Luan was only rank 93 and couldn't compare at all. "What? Is your martial soul hall so weak? You can't even take out a 100,000-year soul beast?" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. "You make it sound like you can take out a 100,000-year soul beast." Yu Guan cursed inwardly, but he didn't show it on the surface. "Your Excellency must know that a 100,000-year soul beast is unrealistic. Change to a more realistic condition." It was rare for Gue Mei to say such a long sentence. Originally, they wanted to let Xue Qinghe negotiate, but now that the situation had changed, the two wanted to quickly finish the negotiation and leave. "How is it unrealistic? Isn't your martial soul hall the #1 power on the continent? You can't even take out a 100,000-year soul beast? Or have you given up on Elder Yinglun?" Lin Feng said with a playful smile. Hearing this, Yingluan's face turned bitter, but he didn't say anything. He knew what he was doing and what he was worth. If Lin Feng's conditions were reasonable, he really could be rescued. But now, it seemed that Lin Feng didn't intend to let him go. "Your Excellency, please give a more reasonable price," Yu Guan said. "You're simply—" Gue Mei's temper was slightly irritable, and he was about to curse. Fortunately, Xue Qinghe said at the right time, "Your Excellency Thanos, what do you think of a soul bone?" In fact, he didn't discuss with Lin Feng how much he should ask for. He didn't expect Lin Feng to ask for such an exorbitant price, and he was a little caught off guard. "That's fine. A 100,000-year soul bone in exchange for Ying Luan." Lin Feng nodded. "You." Gue Mei's soul power fluctuated slightly, and he was very angry. "What? You want to fight?" There was no need for Lin Feng to say anything. His younger brother, Douluo, immediately released his soul ring with an imposing aura. That was Douluo, a level 95 title battle pet warrior. The air seemed to have become heavier. "What? Old poison, you're already level 95? How is this possible?" Yu Guan and Gue Mei were both stunned, especially Yu Guan. He simply couldn't believe his own eyes. He was well aware of Douluo's strength. He could reach level 92 at most, but he didn't expect him to reach level 95 directly. How long had it been? This was simply impossible, unless he had cultivated an evil art and quickly reached level 95, but he would never be able to advance any further. But that's not right. Douluo's aura is so strong that even his martial spirit seems to have evolved. How could it be an evil technique? He must have obtained some kind of great opportunity. There are many things you haven't seen before. A 100,000-year soul bone for a title Douluo. If you don't want to trade, scram. Looking at Douluo's aura and his words, Lin Feng secretly gave him a thumbs up. This Douluo, after being subdued as a subordinate, was quite competent. He had a way with words. Yu Guan and Gue Mei recovered from their shock. Hearing that Douluo dared to tell them to scram, they were immediately enraged and released their soul rings. The three of them had 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black soul rings. Their auras were very strong. Seeing that a fight was about to break out, Xueqinghe hurriedly said, "Our martial spirit hall really can't take out a 100,000-year soul bone. We can give you a 30,000-year soul bone." As he spoke, Xueqinghe secretly sent a soul power fluctuation to Lin Feng, indicating that this was his limit. Actually, Xueqinghe wasn't sure about the exact number of soul bones in the martial spirit hall. However, he knew that there definitely wouldn't be less than 5 soul bones. This was because this was the most basic guarantee of the martial spirit hall. If someone made a great contribution, these soul bones would be used as a reward. In terms of age, they usually range from 10,000 to 50,000 years. Those above 50,000 years would usually be digested by the higher-ups. There were very few opportunities to give them out as rewards. Therefore, Xueqinghe gave a compromise at this moment. A 30,000-year soul bone. 50,000 years. Lin Feng looked at Xueqinghe and said. Very quickly, after looking at the expressions of the 3 people, Lin Feng said, "Or 5 10,000-year soul bones will do." Hearing this, the 3 people fell into a short silence as they thought about the gains and losses. The martial spirit hall could take out 5 10,000-year soul bones. According to Yu Guan's understanding, the martial spirit hall currently had 9 soul bones that were dropped by 10,000-year soul beasts. Using 5 soul bones to exchange for a title Douluo was very worth it. However, using 5 soul bones at once wasn't something that the Pope could decide alone. The elders of the martial spirit hall had to vote to approve it. If they secretly used the soul bones and were discovered, the martial spirit hall might be in turmoil. Lord Thanos, 5 soul bones is too much. How about 3? Xueqinghe probed. Although those 10,000-year soul bones were very weak to some powerful people, they were still quite valuable to low-rank soul masters. Previously, he gave Lin Feng a soul bone because he wanted to gather information. More importantly, he wanted to be on good terms with Lin Feng. Such a super genius was worth using a soul bone to rope him in. Over the past decade, Xueqinghe had secretly found many channels and spent a lot of money to obtain 5 soul bones. 3 of them were used to rope in some soul master clans. Although Patriarch Douluo didn't use those soul bones himself, they were very good for the younger generation of his clan. After that, he gave Lin Feng another soul bone. Now, he only had 1 10,000-year soul bone left. However, he wouldn't use the soul bone for this transaction. Of course, the martial spirit hall would pay for it. For soul bones, that's my bottom line. If you can't give me that, then forget it. Lin Feng gave a final ultimatum. Previously, he had only asked for an exorbitant price for fun. Now, for soul bones were his bargaining chips. Deal. Yu Guan nodded and agreed. Xueqinghe heard this and said, "Since that's the case, we'll bring the soul bones over in a week. I hope Lord Thanos will treat Elder Ying Luan well during this time." "Don't worry, Ying Luan is doing very well here." Douluo waved his hand. This underling of his was very discerning. When it came to important negotiations, Lin Feng could say it, but when it came to small matters, he was really a talent. At this point, the transaction was over. Yu Guan and Gue Mei immediately left with Xueqinghe. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Look after Ying Luan." Then he also left. During the week of waiting for the transaction to take place, he would scrape off Ying Luan and use him to exchange for 4 soul bones. Lin Feng suddenly felt that he was really a genius. He could even think of such an excellent plan. If Xueqinghe knew what Lin Feng was thinking, he would feel that this person didn't know what to do. Chapter 253. Yu Guan and the other 2 stopped outside the sunset forest. "Your Highness, could this be a trap?" Gue Mei asked with a frown. Gue Mei found this strange. They had just fought the day before, and Douluo had lured them in to negotiate a deal. Wasn't this too smooth? But on second thought, Douluo didn't have to do this. This deal was within the rules. Because of this, Gue Mei was confused. What was Douluo's purpose? Gue Mei couldn't figure it out. What kind of trap could it be? Would he kill all of us when we bring the soul bone over? Yuan curled his lips. Xueqing has said, "This is strange, but I don't think it's a problem. If he really wanted to harm us, he would have done it just now." The two titled battle pet warriors Douluo and Xueqing had too many treasures. If Lin Feng really wanted to harm them, he would have done it just now. Yu Guan and Gue Mei understood this as well. Therefore, even though they were confused, they couldn't figure out what Lin Feng was thinking. If that's the case, let's go back to the martial spirit city and tell the Pope about this. Yu Guan and Gue Mei had never been separated. They had always been together. This time, they had to go back to the martial spirit city together. I can go back by myself. Elders, please go ahead. With that, Xueqing parted ways with the other two. Before leaving, Gue Mei quietly probed Xueqing's strength. Then, he left with Yu Guan, slightly surprised. Xueqing didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Soon, they returned to the Heavendo city. Yu Guan and Gue Mei traveled quickly. They often flew and didn't care about the consumption of their soul power. The main reason was that they had too many things to report. Lin Feng's strength, the uniqueness of his martial soul, and the sudden change in Douluo's strength. These things were too important. After reporting, they still wanted to figure out the theory behind it. In particular, Douluo's strength had increased by 4 ranks in just 1 or 2 years. His martial soul seemed to have been strengthened as well. If the martial spirit palace knew the secret, they would be able to do it. Within a short period of time, many powerful titled battle pet warriors would emerge. All the factions would be suppressed by the pontiff. There would be only one voice in the entire martial spirit hall. At that time, the martial soul hall would become the martial soul empire, and unify the continent would be just around the corner. It only took them a day to arrive at Martial Spirit City. The two of them didn't stop. They didn't even have time to recover their soul force as they headed straight for the pontiff's palace. At this moment, Bibi Dong was explaining something to a white-robed bishop. After seeing their expressions, she immediately stopped the conversation and let the bishop leave. "What's the situation? Have you rescued Yingluan?" Bibi Dong asked calmly. "No, yesterday. It took several minutes for Yu Guan to finish recounting everything that had happened in Heavendo City." After hearing this, Bibi Dong fell in a deep thought. She closed her eyes. Yu Guan and Gue Mei also fell silent. It was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. After a long while, Bibi Dong opened her eyes and said, "We can make a deal. For isn't enough. Give Thanos 5 soul bones and let that person think of a way to rope him in. After that, please go to the extreme north to hunt 10,000-year soul beasts for a period of time. Try to make up for the deficit in soul bones." Title Douluo could hunt for low-grade soul bones very quickly. However, if he really did so, he would attract the attacks of the 100,000-year soul beasts in the forest. Therefore, the high-ranking soul masters on the continent rarely hunted 10,000-year soul beasts on a large scale. However, they could occasionally do so before the 100,000-year soul beasts reacted. Yes, Yu Guan and Gue Mei nodded. They knew who Bibi Dong was talking about. It was Xueqing. Right now, the pontiff's plan was very clear. The two of them would secretly take the soul bones and send them to Heavendo City. Then, Xueqing would think of a way to rope in Thanos. After that, the two of them would hunt soul beasts to make up for the deficit. There was no need to make up for all the soul bones, as long as they could make up for 3. Actually, if there was a chance, Bibi Dong would definitely go to Heavendo City personally. However, she couldn't. There were too many people eyeing her position as the pontiff in Martial Spirit City. If she dared to leave, they would dare to overthrow her. After all, her position wasn't stable to begin with. If not for her strong methods and support, she wouldn't have been able to be the pontiff for so long. Her Highness' strength has reached rank 71. Gue Mei said. Rank 71. Bibi Dong was stunned. This level was somewhat out of her expectations. Qianren Xue was not even 23 years old, but she was already a soul sage. She had a high chance of becoming a soul Douluo before the age of 30. She even had hopes of breaking Tang Hao's record of becoming a titled Douluo at the age of 44. Even if she had full soul power at rank 20, this cultivation speed was still too fast. After a while, BB Dong praised in her heart. Good, good. However, she didn't show it. Everything was still so calm on the outside. Come with me to get the soul bones. BB Dong was very clear about stretching his ability. There was a high chance of befriending Thanos. It would be best if she could rope him into the Martial Spirit Hall. If it didn't work, then after she unified the Martial Spirit Palace, she would personally go to find this Slayer Lord. 5 soul bones have been taken secretly. This kind of thing wouldn't be discovered in the short term, but as time passed, people would soon find out. Therefore, BB Dong told the two of them to letting Luan follow them into the forest after they rescued him. Lin Feng didn't know about BB Dong's decision. At this moment, he had already arrived in Heaven-Do City. He didn't go to Shrek Academy. Instead, he went straight to the Soul Arena. The 7 members of the Avengers had all gathered together. Their 7 avatars had all upgraded their soul force to that of a rank 42 soul ancestor. Lin Feng suppressed his strength and faced soul masters with all kinds of martial souls in the soul arena. Lin Feng would participate in single battles, double battles, and even team battles. Although he could only barely do 6 things at once, it was more than enough to fight a beautiful team battle. After all, during the battle, the 7 clones wouldn't go all out all the time. He just needed to control them. After a day, all the clones' battles were victorious. This was the result of Lin Feng's deliberate control. He didn't need to fail. He just needed to keep winning. When he met soul masters with familiar martial souls, Lin Feng quickly ended the battle. As for those soul masters with more obscure martial souls, he would have a good fight with them. After a day, Lin Feng also met 3 more obscure soul masters. Their martial souls were Ghost Hand, Fat Snake, and Sprinkler. Chapter 254. Lin Feng knew that Douluo had all sorts of strange martial souls, but the first 2 were still considered normal. However, that showerhead was outrageous. Ghost Hand was a mutated martial soul, and it was a little strong. It was similar to Ghost Douluo's martial soul, but it was much weaker. When fighting with this guy, Lin Feng used Spider-Man Parker as his doppelganger. In the end, he relied on his nimble operation to throw him out of the soul dueling stage. Fat Snake was a defense-type martial soul with strong defensive power. This was a rank 46 soul master. Lin Feng's doppelganger was the Black Panther T'Challa. He secretly used the strength of an ordinary rank 49 soul ancestor, but he couldn't break through the defense. In the end, he was knocked unconscious by Lin Feng's random soul skill. The most outrageous thing was this showerhead. The sprinkling of water could actually make him grow bigger, making him look like a small giant. Fortunately, Lin Feng's doppelganger this time was the Hulk. He also became very big and smashed this showerhead monster. After a day of soul dueling, Lin Feng discovered that whether it was in actual combat or in terms of distraction control, a team was more effective. Furthermore, Lin Feng discovered that the more intense the team battle, the faster he improved. And because his team soul dueling tablet was full of Gold Dohun members, although their points weren't considered Gold Dohuns, they were directly part of Gold Dohun's team when matched. And Gold Dohun's team was still very strong. Lin Feng's Avengers Alliance spent a lot of effort to win. Under the intense battle where he suppressed his strength, Lin Feng's control grew rapidly. He felt that in a week at most, he could completely achieve the level of multitasking. This battle was good. Suddenly, Lin Feng also wanted to go to that Continental Academy Elite Tournament to play. At that time, with so many doppelgangers, it would be fun to pretend to be different people. What was the purpose of becoming strong? Wasn't it to let oneself become free and happy? I'm stronger than you, so I'm freer than you. Now that I've become a god, I can't die. I've transcended the limits of my lifespan, and my lifespan can be considered free. Now, Lin Feng wasn't considered to have absolute freedom on the continent of Douluo, but at least he could create his own happiness. If he wanted to enter this continental tournament, he had to enter a proper Advanced Soul Master Academy. Create one by himself? It wasn't impossible, but it was more troublesome. Thinking about it, Lin Feng suddenly thought of an academy, Oakland Academy. He had met people from the Auckland family in the Setting Sun Forest. In any case, he had an impression of this academy. He could directly join their academy and obtain the qualifications to participate in the tournament. Lin Feng made a beeline for Oakland Academy in Heavendo City. This school was obviously an aristocratic school. The gate was 40 meters wide, and the name of the school was carved out of pure gold. It looked very noble. This time, Lin Feng was using a brand new identity, Dr. Strange. His red cloak paired with his tall figure and handsome face attracted many people's attention. Ever since the 1000G ruler obtained the life force characteristic, it could transform into a person that looked exactly like a real person. If not for Lin Feng taking the initiative to disperse his soul power, no one would be able to tell. This time, it wasn't Lin Feng's avatar, but his main body. The reason he looked like this was because of the 1000G ruler's effect. Right now, he could easily transform into all kinds of appearances like a game character. Walking through the gate, there was a wide road. Expensive decorations lined both sides of the road, such as gold-inlaid street lamps, quartz-carved guardrails, and so on, exuding a noble aura. At the end of the road was a huge plaza paved with marble. In the center, there was a fountain and a garden. From time to time, students wearing Oakland's golden uniform would walk past. The boys were handsome, and the girls were cute and beautiful. Whether it was appearance, martial soul, or resources, nobles were much better than commoners. They were brimming with confidence, and compared to when they were in the Shrek Academy, they were completely different. Sighing with emotion was one thing, but Lin Feng still knew that this was a kind of sorrow. Perhaps a world where everyone was equal was an extravagant hope, but at least there should be a kind of relative equality. But in Douluo's world, nobles were full of a sense of superiority in front of commoners. Even if it was a commoner soul master, if they weren't strong enough, they would naturally be inferior in front of nobles. Thinking back to the time when he wanted to beat him up on the road in the soul-hunting forest. What was it again? Right, his name was Lin Hai. That guy was the typical representative of nobles with a sense of superiority. Perhaps there weren't many arrogant and despotic nobles like him, but a sense of superiority was something that all nobles had. This was the result of the environment, and if he wanted to change it, it would take a long time. Lin Feng's appearance attracted the attention of the passing students, but Lin Feng didn't pay attention to them and went straight to the east side of the academy. That was where the reception building and office building were, and the academy's dean should be there. But before he got close, a patrolling student walked over and wanted to ask. Lin Feng smiled. Under the stupefied gaze of the student, he stepped from the plaza to the entrance of the office building. Powerhouse. An absolute powerhouse. At the very least, he had to be at the level of Soul Douluo. The student's heart skipped a beat, and he was stunned on the spot, not knowing what to do. When he came back to his senses, Lin Feng had already walked into the office building. Lin Feng didn't hide his soul power undulations just now. As long as the dean had the strength of a soul sage or above, he should be able to sense it. Sure enough, just as Lin Feng expected, when he walked into the building, a slightly plump old man walked out. I am Feng Huai, the dean of Auckland Academy, a rank 73 assault-type soul sage. May I know who you are? Feng Huai sized up Lin Feng. The soul power undulations just now didn't feel strong, only at the Soul Emperor level. At this moment, when he sized up Lin Feng, he felt that there wasn't anything special about him other than being handsome. Just call me Dr. Strange. Lin Feng smiled. I came to your academy to discuss a collaboration. May I know what kind of collaboration? Feng Huai realized that Lin Feng wasn't panicking at all after knowing his strength as a soul sage, which made him curious. And this name, Dr. Strange? What kind of nickname is that? He had never heard of it in Heavendo City. He probably ran over from another city, and he might be a soul sage. I have 7 disciples who want to join your academy and participate in this year's Continental Elite Academy Tournament. Our academy's quota for the tournament has already been confirmed, and it won't be changed. Feng Huai rejected without even thinking. It wasn't that there weren't people like Lin Feng who wanted to send people to other academies, but it was usually just 1 or 2. But you're giving 7 at once. What's wrong with that? Are you trying to kick our academy's team out? What if they can win the championship? Lin Feng's expression didn't change. Win the championship? Feng Huai was stunned. and he couldn't help but size up Lin Feng. Our academy's team has 3 soul ancestors, and when the tournament starts, there will be 4. With this kind of strength, even I don't dare to say that I can enter the top 10. You're just a guy who popped out of nowhere. What qualifications do you have to say that your disciples can win the championship? Lin Feng didn't say anything, and he only moved his soul power. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 black. 9 soul rings shone brightly. All the soul masters in the office building felt that strong pressure, and even some students who passed by outside were so frightened that they fell to the ground. Feng Huai was sweating profusely as he swallowed his saliva. At this moment, Lin Feng smiled and asked, "Do I have the qualifications?" Chapter 255. Titled Douluo. How is this possible? Doctor Strange? Feng Huai had never heard of this title Douluo before. Right now, he was already extremely shocked. It was a good thing that Lin Feng didn't reveal his soul power all the time and quickly retracted it. His soul rings and his aura were all simulated by the 1,000 trickery ruler. His aura wasn't at the standard of a titled Douluo when he wasn't in his usual state. At most, it was at the peak of the soul Douluo level. However, because he had 9 soul rings, everyone thought that he was just a titled Douluo for a short period of time. Lin Feng quickly put it away to prevent these people from recognizing it after sensing it for a long time. You're qualified, Feng Huai said after a while. All right, let's go through the procedures. Lin Feng flipped his hand, and 7 badges appeared in his hand. These were the golden battle soul badges of the soul dueling arena. The information of Lin Feng's 7 clones was engraved on them. With these badges, they could go through the admission procedures. Okay. Feng Huai took the 7 badges and looked at them. After seeing their ranks, he asked, "Sir, how old are your 7 disciples now?" Lin Feng was indeed a titled Douluo, but if his disciples were weaker than the ones in the academy, he wouldn't let them compete. After all, this was the honor of Oakland Academy. A titled Douluo wasn't qualified to trample on the academy's dignity. Not only did they have their families behind them, but there was also the alliance between the academies in Heaven-Do City. If Lin Feng dared to act presumptuously, someone would deal with him. But now that he looked at the badges, all of them were rank 42 soul ancestors. As long as they weren't over 25 years old, they could compete. A team full of soul ancestors was indeed qualified to compete for the championship. No wonder this title Douluo was so confident. 16. Lin Feng casually reported his age. What? 16 years old? Feng Huai was shocked. At first glance, a 16-year-old soul ancestor didn't seem like much. After all, Tang San and the others would definitely be able to reach the soul ancestor level before they turned 14. They were 2 years younger than that. But how could that be compared? He was a monster to begin with, and he had even eaten the immortal herb, which was why he had such monstrous talent. On the continent, 16-year-old soul masters were usually still studying in intermediate soul master academies. They would only enter advanced soul master academies when they were around 20 years old. That's right, this almost useless intermediate soul master academy was designed to force people to stay there for more than 6 years. The Douluo continent's education environment was extremely poor. Generally speaking, anyone who could become a soul elder by the age of 20 would be considered a genius. 16 years old. Becoming a soul grandmaster was already extremely formidable. And now, Lin Feng said that he was a 16-year-old soul ancestor. Feng Huai was shocked. He'd never heard of such a genius before. To be able to become a soul exalt at the age of 16 was a truly frightening feat. Is there a problem? Lin Feng smiled. No, sir, it's our honor to send such a genius student to our academy. Feng Huai's face bloomed with a smile. Originally, he thought that Lin Feng was like other soul masters, stuffing juniors into the competition to show their names. This way, when the academy's team obtained a ranking, the students would have an easier path in the future. But now, it seemed that this was simply a heavenly soldier descending from the heavens to their academy. If Lin Feng and the other students represented their Auckland Academy in the competition, they would be fighting for their academy's honor. This was a great thing. In his excitement, Feng Huai quickly completed the procedures for Lin Feng. Sir, I wonder when your students will come to our academy to study. Feng Huai couldn't wait to see these 7 geniuses. Also, he was very curious about the identity of Lin Feng, the Doctor Strange. But since the other party didn't say anything, he didn't dare to ask. They will come a few days before the competition starts. Before that, they won't be in the academy. Feng Huai hesitated. If he didn't see them in person, he wouldn't be 100% at ease just based on Lin Feng's words and the Soul Battle Badge. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Lin Feng glanced at him. No. Feng Huai hurriedly said. Then it's fine. This is a deal. My 7 disciples will participate in the competition in the name of your academy and help you win honor. My purpose is purely to train them. Understand? Understood. Feng Huai nodded repeatedly. Lin Feng smiled and quickly left. In the same place, Feng Huai frowned slightly, then a smile appeared on his face. He thought it through. Whether Lin Feng's 7 students were real or not, it didn't matter to him. Anyway, there was still a long time before the competition started. The original people in his academy would continue to prepare for the competition. In this way, even if Lin Feng's 7 students didn't meet the requirements, he wouldn't lose anything. The original team would participate as usual. If these 7 people were really so talented, it would be even better. When the time came, he would directly let the 3 strongest people in his team join them as substitutes and participate in the competition. In this way, his academy's team would be even stronger. The only downside was that the spots of the other members of his team would be taken away for no reason. They might be a bit unwilling, but this was a small matter. In the face of the academy's honor, they had to step aside. Thinking of this, he immediately reported this matter to the Auckland family behind him. On the other hand, Lin Feng was a bit tired after practicing multitasking for an entire day. He found a luxurious hotel, ate a good meal, and fell asleep. The next afternoon, 2 slightly tired figures appeared in front of Xueqinghe. The deal was said to be completed within a week, but in order to save time, Yu Guan and Gui Mei hadn't rested at all. They had been running back and forth between Heavendo City and Martial Spirit City. Even the title battle pet, Warrior Douluo, was tired. Yu Guan opened his hand, and 5 soul bones that were emitting lustrous light appeared in front of him. Why are there 5? Xueqinghe was puzzled. The Pope wants your highness to think of a way to rope in Thanos. This extra soul bone is a sign of goodwill. If you have any other requests in the future, you can report them to the higher-ups, Yu Guan said. Xueqinghe frowned slightly. He didn't like BB Dong's orders. Although this order made their cooperation more stable and would be greatly beneficial in the future, he subconsciously hated this point. But on the surface, he still nodded. Understood. What are the 2 of you going to do next? After escorting your highness to complete the deal, you will go to the Star-Do Great Forest with Elder Yingluan. Yu Guan placed the 5 soul bones on the table. Hearing this, Xueqinghe nodded in his heart. This was similar to what he had expected. Moving so many soul bones out of the balloon meant that they had to replenish them. It seemed that Yu Guan and the others would have to leave for the time being. Chapter 256. Lin Feng had a lot of activities today. In the morning, he fought more than 10 matches in the Soul Arena. After lunch, he went to fight a team battle. In the afternoon, he was a little tired and hurriedly returned to his villa. At this time, he was soaking in the hot spring, comfortable. He rested for half a day. In the evening, he got up to find Douluo and the others to collect today's protection fee. However, halfway through the protection fee, he suddenly sensed Xueqinghe, Yu Guan, and Gui Mei. Isn't it a week? It's only been 3 days, and they're already here. Isn't it too fast? I haven't even finished collecting all my experience points. They were caught off guard, but Lin Feng quickly recovered the 2 of them. Then, he waited for the 3 of them in the pavilion. Lord Thanos, these are the 4 soul bones we agreed on. Please return Elder Yingluan. Xueqinghe directly threw the 4 soul bones in front of Lin Feng. Since they had agreed on the deal, there was no need to be long-winded. The 2 sides directly began the transaction. Lin Feng took the 4 soul bones and weighed them in his hand before waving at Douluo. The latter reached out and patted Luan. Following a wave of soul power, a ball of green venom was sucked out by Douluo. Then, it turned into soul power and merged into his body. All right, the poison has been removed. Let's go back, Douluo said calmly. Seeing this scene, Guan and the others looked as if they had expected it. Previously, they guessed that Luan must have been controlled by them. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to not resist at all. Only now did they know that it was Douluo's poison. On Luan's side, after discovering that the poison had been removed, he immediately carefully checked the situation in his body. After confirming that he was really fine, he quickly rushed to Xue Qinghe and the others. At this moment, Xue Qinghe said, "This is an additional 10,000-year soul bone. I'll give it to you again as a personal apology." As he spoke, he threw the 5th soul bone to Lin Feng. Different methods of doing things would lead to different results. If he had directly given the 5 soul bones to Lin Feng, he would have gained a favorable impression of him. However, this was a favorable impression of the martial spirit hall, which was too general. But now, with just a short sentence, the relationship between the two of them had become closer. It was obvious that the effect was better than the overall effect. Of course, this was all an act for others to see. The relationship between Xue Qinghe and Lin Feng was mainly based on a deeper level of cooperation. They're not bad. I'll take them. Lin Feng placed the 5 soul bones in front of him. According to the plan, he should now say a few words to show his friendliness. However, he was a little unhappy that his shadow will have been taken away in advance. He kept the soul bone and didn't say anything else. Xue Qinghe's soul power fluctuated slightly as he tried to warn Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng remained unmoved as he stared blankly at the soul bones in his hand. The atmosphere became slightly strange, but Xue Qinghe reacted quickly. He immediately said, "Since the transaction has been completed, then we will take our leave." After saying that, the 4 of them left. During this time, Guan and Mei were very vigilant and didn't say a word. After arriving at Heavendoe City in the afternoon, the 2 of them rested for a few hours to recover before coming over. Otherwise, they would have arrived long ago. Xue Qinghe knew that something unexpected must have happened, which was why Lin Feng didn't act according to the plan. However, the situation shouldn't be too bad. Otherwise, Shadow Will wouldn't have returned, and they might have fought just now. The only thing that annoyed him was that Lin Feng didn't tell him about the change in the plan. This made him very passive. However, there was nothing he could do. His opponent was strong, so he could do whatever he wanted. If he wanted to know the situation, he would have to wait a few days. The 2 of them agreed to meet after the transaction was completed. After leaving the setting sun forest, the 4 of them quickly rushed to Heavendoe City. During this time, they asked Shadow Wheel about what had happened in the past few days. Shadow Will looked like a victim. "Thanos has been a strange person these few days. He wants to fight me every day. Not only me, but even that old poison would be beaten up by him." Strange expressions appeared on Guan and Mei's faces when they heard this. How could there be such a strange person? Finding someone to fight every day was one thing. Fighting Shadow Wheel was one thing. But why was Douluo fighting as well? Everyone was perplexed. Apart from that, Shadow Will also talked about Lin Feng's soul skills and Douluo's strength. Guan and Mei understood this to a certain extent, so they didn't say anything. Instead, they quickly relayed what the Pope had told them. Just like that, after escorting Xue Qinghe to Heavendoe City, the 3 of them immediately rushed south. As for Lin Feng, he gave Douluo some time off. Without Shadow Wheel to restrain, Douluo could take a break and rest. Douluo had given him 2 little experience points over the past few days, only a few million. Compared to his status as a rank 95 title Douluo, this was far too low. Even Shadow Wheel had more than 10 million experience points. After thinking about it, the reason why his experience points dropped so quickly was because Lin Feng had been fleecing him for too long. Douluo had to relax for a while to recover his experience points. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lin Feng could go to the soul dueling arena to train his multitasking ability. Alright, these 5 soul bones should also be given to Tang San and the others. I haven't seen them for so many days, and I'm starting to miss them. These soul bones are perfect gifts. It's too late today, and I'm too lazy to move. I'll go back and soak in a hot spring for a comfortable night. All right, these 5 soul bones today feel very ordinary. How should I put it? No matter what kind of soul bone it was very important to a soul master. However, in terms of rarity, torso bones were the most difficult to drop, followed by skull bones, hand bones, and leg bones. These are the most likely soul bones to drop. Among these 5 soul bones, there were no torso bones or skull bones. 2 of them were hand bones, and the other 3 were leg bones. In terms of age, they were all more than 10,000 years old, and the highest was only around 15,000 years old. However, after sensing for a while, Lin Feng found that these 5 soul bones could be used by Tang San and the others. 4 of them were suitable for Dai Mu Bai, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and Zhu Zhuqing. In fact, Ning Rongrong's soul bone was more suitable for Xiao Wu, but Xiao Wu was not suitable to absorb soul bones now. It was better to wait until she reached rank 60. In addition to these 4, there was another one that was more versatile and could be given to anyone. He would give it to them depending on the situation. In fact, Lin Feng didn't really want to give Tang San a soul bone right now. This was because Tang San had his own destiny, and he would obtain even better soul bones in the future. If he gave it to Tang San now, it would restrict his development. But it would depend on the situation when the time came. If Tang San chose to absorb it, it wouldn't be a big deal. At this time, he was still very weak. If he absorbed it earlier, he wouldn't be very weak in the future. Chapter 257. The next morning, Lin Feng arrived at Heavendo City and made a beeline for the Shrek Academy. On this occasion, he was planning to stay in Heavendo City for a while, so he could visit the Soul Battle Arena. Everyone was ecstatic to hear this news. Grandmaster was also very pleased to hear this. He had originally planned to have everyone challenge Lin Feng once a week, but Lin Feng had disappeared without a trace during this period of time. Now that he was going to stay in Shrek City, everyone's training would definitely be more effective. At this moment, everyone was gathered in the forest of the academy, and they were all very happy. Don't be in such a hurry to celebrate. I brought you another gift. Guess what it is? Lin Feng asked with a smile. A gift from Feng Ge has to be something extraordinary. I'm guessing it's some super delicious food. Xiao Wu was the first to chime in. Xiao Wu, all you care about is food. I'm guessing it's some kind of spirit fruit. Feng Ge is going to improve our powers again. Ning Rongrong chuckled. I think, out of the 7 people, 6 of them voiced their guesses and expressed their opinions. In the end, everyone looked at Zhu Zhuqing, who had yet to speak. He ran a hand through his hair and chuckled. I think Feng Ge might have brought us soul bones again. Ha ha, you're overthinking things. Take she. Soul bones are extremely valuable. Do you think Feng Ge is going to sell them wholesale? Ma Hongjun was the first to burst into laughter. Everyone else was also chuckling, and they all felt that Zhu Zhuqing's guess was the most far-fetched. Soul bones were one of the rarest resources in the Soul Master world, and some Soul Masters might not even be able to see a single soul bone in their entire lives, even if they were at Soul Douluo. How could such a thing appear one after another? Grandmaster also shook his head with a smile. Soul bones are extremely precious, and even among the most powerful families, they're extremely precious. Even the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan only had 2. During this period of time, the Grandmaster had also accepted his identity, and Tang San and the others were also made aware of his relationship with the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan. Actually, the Master knew too little. Even if he was a theoretical master and had done a lot of research, he was still weak. In the eyes of the strong, he was nothing more than a weak soul Grandmaster. There were many secrets in the world of Soul Masters that one wouldn't know unless one reached that level. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan only has 2 soul bones? Lin Feng didn't believe it. After all, Yu Yuanjin was a level 96 title battle pet warrior with a Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon martial soul. Not even the Dusty Heart was a match for him. Other than him, there were also many soul Douluo in the family. How could such a powerful family only have 2 soul bones? It can only be said that masters were still too weak. There were many things that they didn't deserve to know. Yes, Soul bones are very rare. Even our seven treasures glazed sect doesn't have any, Ning Rongrong chimed in. In reality, Ning Rongrong was about the same as the Grandmaster. She was too weak, so she didn't know these things. The seven treasures glazed sect didn't have any soul bones. They just didn't want to tell her. However, Ning Rongrong's treatment was completely different from that of the Grandmaster. They didn't want to tell Ning Rongrong because she was too weak, and they didn't want to put her under too much pressure. As for the Grandmaster, it was simply because he was too weak that others looked down on him. It was like the golden triangle between Serpent and the Grandmaster. The so-called power that could contend with a title battle pet warrior like Douluo was just empty talk. How could such rumors spread? It was because there were people watching the battle, and there were also powerful beings. A title battle pet warrior like Douluo wouldn't expend too much soul power in order to prevent others from taking advantage of the situation. Thus, he was fighting casually, creating the illusion that he could be matched. If Douluo were to fight with his life on the line, there would be no doubt that he would be able to kill them. In the original book, Douluo, who was at rank 91, could easily control the Grandmaster's golden triangle when he lost his temper. At the end of the day, this so-called competition was just a joke. In the eyes of the truly powerful, all the people below the titled battle pet warrior like Douluo were ants. Feng Ge, why aren't you saying anything? Ma Hongjun noticed that Lin Feng had stopped talking after hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words. In the past, Su Ping would always make fun of them when they said that they were guessing. It was strange that he didn't say anything at the moment. Lin Feng smiled but didn't say anything. No way. Is it true? Oscar covered his head with his hands. The others also had strange looks on their faces, mainly because Lin Feng didn't say anything and only smiled. They couldn't help but have this shocking thought. It's true. The gift this time is 5 soul bones. Lin Feng didn't keep them in suspense. He smiled and took out 5 soul bones from his soul tool. F***CK. It's true. Feng Ge, you're amazing. 5 of them. Fatty, you said that Feng Ge's soul bones couldn't be sold in bulk. Now it's come true. F***CK. For a moment, everyone was shocked. Those who could still speak kept spitting out fragrant words. Some were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Grandmaster belonged to the latter. He never thought that he would be able to see 5 soul bones in front of him. It was so unbelievable that he felt like he was dreaming. Tang Xin calmed down a little, but he was still swallowing his saliva. A single piece of soul bone was enough for soul masters to fight over. If others were to find out about it, the weak would even be killed. There were 5 soul bones in front of him. It was enough to make soul masters go crazy. Zhu Zhuqing was also stunned. He stared blankly at the soul bones and didn't know what to say. Xiao Wu's expression changed. She ran over and asked worriedly, Feng Ge, you didn't kill many soul beasts, did you? Tang Xin also came back to his senses when he heard this. The two of them knew that Xiao Wu was a 100,000-year soul beast. If Lin Feng obtained these soul bones from killing a large number of soul beasts, Xiao Wu would be very resistant. She wouldn't hate Lin Feng directly, but she would ignore him for a long time. Of course not. Are you, Feng Ge, that kind of person? I love soul beasts so much. Why would I do such a thing? Mr. Destroy traded with someone else. He didn't want it and gave it to me. What a joke. Older soul beasts were his potential experienced babies. Why would he kill them? Hearing this, Xiao Wu heaved a sigh of relief. Tang Xin did the same. However, soon, everyone was even more shocked. Mr. Destroy's soul bone didn't want it, gave it to Lin Feng. When these 4 keywords were put together, everyone's feelings were indescribable. It was like the small goal of a big shot in the eyes of ordinary people in his previous life. 100 million yuan. That was so much money that ordinary people couldn't earn in their lifetime. However, the big shot looked down on it and gave it away casually. He even gave away a few at once. What else could they say? They didn't understand the big shot's world at all. Chapter 258. Feng Ge, is His Holiness Thanos your father? Ma Hongjun asked after the atmosphere was silent for a while. This sentence was simply what everyone was thinking. Why would Douluo, a title battle pet warrior, take such good care of Lin Feng? He had even given him all 5 soul bones. Other people's biological fathers would give soul bones to their sons. In such a situation, it was hard for everyone not to guess. However, Lin Feng quickly knocked Ma Hongjun on the head. You think I'm your father just because I gave you a few soul bones? If I give you the soul bones now, are you going to call me father too? Lin Feng said snappily. Father, father, I want the soul bones. Oscar hurriedly said. Everyone was speechless. Oscar, this guy is really shameless. Lin Feng was stunned by this guy's shameless actions. But to be honest, this kind of shameless person was often promising. After all, shameless people were invincible in the world. It wasn't just a saying. Stop fooling around. There are a total of 5 soul bones. 4 of them are suitable for Mu Bai, Xiao Ao, Rong Rong, and Take Shi respectively. The last one is more versatile. Fatty, Xiao San, and Xiao Wu. The 3 of you can take it yourselves. As he spoke, Lin Feng handed the 4 soul bones to the 4 of them. The last soul bone was placed in Tang San's hand. Feng Gu, there's so many soul bones. Aren't you going to use any of them yourself? After receiving the soul bones, everyone wasn't too excited. Instead, they asked a question in return. Just 1 soul bone was already a huge shock to them. Now that Lin Feng directly gave them 5 soul bones, they were shocked and a little terrified. They didn't understand why Lin Feng was so nice to them. Why didn't he use them himself? He didn't like them? Bullshit. Soul bones were very important, so it was understandable if he didn't care for one. However, there were 5 of them. No matter how trashy a soul bone was, if he used a few of them together, the effects would change qualitatively. For example, if Dai Mubai had 4 soul bones, he would be able to grab the Soul Emperor's hammer. Didn't I tell you? This soul bone is too trashy. It's only a little over 10,000 years old. I don't like it. Lin Feng spoke his mind. Fengge, stop joking around. These 5 soul bones, in addition to the one that was sent over not too long ago, are the complete set of soul bones for both arms and legs. That's a total of 4 soul bones. No one believed Lin Feng's words. Grandmaster also nodded and said, Little Feng, if you absorb all of these soul bones, even if there are some conflicts, the boost to your strength will still be extremely terrifying. For high-level soul masters, the increase in strength from soul bones was relatively low. Normally, it would only increase their strength by about 30%. Unless the soul bone was extremely strong, then it would be possible to increase their strength by more. For low-level soul masters, even the trashiest soul bone would increase their strength by several times, allowing them to easily beat stronger soul masters. Sigh, why doesn't anyone believe me when I speak the truth? Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. Actually, I already have stronger soul bones on me. I really don't like these. After saying this, Lin Feng realized that everyone still didn't believe him. He sighed, then tilted his head to look at the forest on the left. There were trees that were dozens of meters tall there. Watch carefully. Everyone was a little confused. They didn't know what Lin Feng was going to show them. At this moment, Lin Feng kicked forward with his left leg and shouted, Ha Sawu. In the next second, everyone saw a tornado that was more than 10 meters tall instantly condense in front of Lin Feng. Then, it quickly swept towards the forest, causing the trees to sway endlessly. Endless dust filled the air. The grass and flowers on the ground were uprooted, and the leaves in the forest were also stirred up and scattered in the tornado. After seeing this scene, everyone's mouths were wide open. F***CK. Heartless. Xiao Wu cursed. She learned this from Lin Feng. Everyone was shocked again. This was a tornado. Those trees that were dozens of meters tall were like small boats in a storm that could be overturned at any time. It was simply too terrifying. After 1 or 2 seconds, the tornado dissipated. In front of them were all fallen trees. Only the branches were left, and the leaves were scattered all over the ground. Because of this tornado, this small part of the forest directly disappeared. Sunlight shone through this space and shone on everyone, causing them to be unable to calm down for a long time. In fact, this was the result of Lin Feng restraining his power very well. Furthermore, it dissipated very quickly. Previously, when he kicked out at the setting sun forest, A large-scale tornado that was dozens of meters tall appeared. The trees were directly stirred up into sawdust, and even the ground was swept up. Not a single blade of grass grew. This tornado that was more than 10 meters tall could only be considered a weakling. Not to mention sweeping up the ground, it didn't even break these trees. Even so, everyone was still stunned. Fenggu, is this the skill of your soul bone? Tang Sen was the first to come back to his senses and swallowed his saliva. He suddenly realized that compared to the soul skill of Feng Ji's soul bone, his external 8-spider spear was a complete weakling. Master even said that the external soul bone was the best soul bone. Tang Sen suddenly doubted Master's authority. That's right. Lin Feng turned his head and smiled. How is it? Do you believe me now? I believe you. Fenggu is awesome. Everyone nodded like chicks pecking at rice. Master only felt his mouth and tongue go dry. He didn't know what to say. He realized that Lin Feng was simply too amazing. The immortal grass from before, and now the soul bone. Each of these matters made him feel as though he was dreaming. As for his strength, it was still a mystery to this day. No one knew exactly how strong he was. A soul bone that could unleash such a powerful soul skill was at least 50,000 years old. Furthermore, the soul beast that was hunted was definitely very strong. With the support of this soul bone, Master estimated that Lin Feng's strength should be at the level of Soul Sage. This Feng brat was only 13 years old. It was simply terrifying to be so strong at 13 years old. All right, you guys can take the soul bone. After speaking, Lin Feng actually ran to the front and straightened the crooked trees one by one. Then, the immeasurable flower appeared and a green light flashed. Under everyone's shocked gazes, these trees quickly came to life and grew lush green leaves. Everyone knew about the uniqueness of Lin Feng's martial soul, but knowing was one thing. The scene in front of them from nothing still shocked them. Fenggu, your ability is so strong. You can use it to build a home for soul beasts, Xiao Wu said with a smile. Lin Feng smiled and didn't reply. Then he asked Tang Sen, have you decided? Which of the three of you will use the last soul bone? Chapter 259. I was the one who used the previous one. Of course I can't take it now. Ma Hongjun was the first to speak. Get a third brother. This is a right arm bone. This way, third brother will be stronger in team battles in the future. He'll also be stronger when using hidden weapons. Xiao Wu said. Tang Sen had originally wanted to give it to Xiao Wu, but Xiao Wu had secretly told him that it wasn't suitable for him to absorb soul bones now. Now that she had said it again, Tang Sen didn't refuse. He smiled and said, since that's the case, I'll use this soul bone. All right, then you guys can start absorbing it here. Lin Feng smiled. The absorption speed of a soul bone was much faster than a soul ring. The few of them were excited as they used their soul power to envelop the soul bone. Very quickly, they absorbed it completely. 5 minutes later, the few of them gradually calmed down from their excitement and started to introduce the abilities that they had obtained from the soul bone. Dai Mubai was the first to speak. This is my left leg bone. It doesn't have any additional soul skills, but it has increased my physical fitness by almost 5 times. Dai Mubai was now a rank 46 soul ancestor. All his attributes have been increased by 5 times. In addition to his 7,000-year 4th soul ring, his strength was comparable to a soul king. Just as he finished speaking, Ma Hongjun said proudly, Boss Dai, you can't do it. Not only did my soul bone increase all my attributes by 6 times, it also gave me a flaming hand soul skill. It's much stronger than yours. There was no choice. After all, Ma Hongjun had obtained a soul bone a few days ago. At this moment, he felt a sense of superiority. You actually dare to mock me. Fatty, you're itching for a beating. As he spoke, Dai Mubai ran over to Ma Hongjun and gave him a few punches. You're only rank 38, and I'm rank 46. Our foundations are so different. How can your 6 times be compared to my 5 times? You really don't know. Isn't it easy for me to beat you up now? Everyone couldn't help but smile when they saw the two of them fooling around. Dai Mubai wasn't wrong. This was the foundation of a soul bone. If an auxiliary-type soul grandmaster were to use it, all of their attributes would increase by tens of times. After a moment of silence, Oscar said, "This is my right leg bone. All of its attributes have been increased by 6 times, and it has a very strong auxiliary-type soul skill. I call it soul power abundance. After using it, you can use soul skills for 10 seconds without consuming any soul power." Oscar was a support-type soul master. Although he was at rank 42, his body was very weak. Even if all his attributes were increased by 6 times, it wasn't much. On the other hand, this soul skill didn't consume any soul power when released within 10 seconds. It was simply too powerful and could be called a divine skill. Everyone expressed their envy. In the past, Oscar still needed a complete soul incantation to unleash his soul skills. However, after so much practice in controlling his soul power, he only needed to say short words like mushroom intestine and berserk intestine to unleash his soul skills. Furthermore, he was confident that within half a year, he would be able to use it without the help of the soul curse. It was important to know that only soul sages possessed such an ability. The third person to introduce was Ning Rongrong. She said, "This soul bone of mine is the same as Bostai's. It's also a right leg bone. All of its attributes have been increased by 8 times, and it has a defensive soul skill that can only be used on oneself. I call it protective barrier. It can condense a barrier around one's entire body that lasts for 10 minutes. It can block attacks from Soul Kings for a period of time." Amazing! Now Rongrong could be like Xiao Ao in the future and move around the battlefield together. Everyone immediately thought of the usefulness of this soul skill in team battles. As for Ning Rongrong, her attributes had been increased by 8 times. She was only a soul elder and an auxiliary-type soul master, so the increase wasn't that high. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing said, "This bone of mine is a right arm bone. All of its attributes have been increased by 7 times. It also has the soul skill light of the secluded night. After using it, it can throw out an intense flashball that will cause enemies within 5 meters to temporarily lose their vision." This soul skill was amazing. It was just a flashball, but it could actually cause enemies to lose their vision in an area of effect. The only problem was that the conditions were quite harsh. 5 meters was too short for a soul master, so they had to grasp the right timing. At this moment, everyone's expressions were either filled with envy or excitement. However, Dai Mubai's expression was a little strange. He was the first to speak. His soul bone didn't have any soul skills attached to it. However, everyone who was mentioned later had a soul skill. This made him feel very awkward. Now, only Tang San hadn't said anything. In his heart, he was hoping that Tang San didn't have a soul skill. That way, he wouldn't be the only one without a soul skill. But didn't the great master say that? The possibility of soul skills appearing on soul bones was very low. Most soul bones didn't have soul skills attached to them. But why was the situation different from what Grandmaster said? "Grandmaster, you've misunderstood me." Just as he was letting his imagination run wild, Tang Sen spoke. "This soul bone of mine is a right arm bone. It increased all of my attributes by 4 times. Hearing this, Dai Mubai let out a sigh of relief. It was only 4 times. Fortunately, as long as it didn't have any soul skills attached to it, his soul bone wouldn't be the worst one. However, in the next second, Tang San continued, "This soul bone also gave me a soul skill. I call it Savage Growth. After using it, my blue-silver grass martial soul's soul skill release speed and martial soul's movement speed will double. It's very powerful." This, Dai Mubai felt very uncomfortable in his heart. As the saying went, one shouldn't worry about scarcity, but should worry about uneven distribution. Everyone else had soul skills, but he didn't. At this moment, Ma Hongjun seemed to have discovered a new continent. He shouted, "Boss Dai, did you notice? Our soul bones seem to have soul skills. What about yours? You didn't notice it, did you?" This fatty wasn't mischievous. He had simply forgotten the pain after his scars healed. His personality was just that carefree. "Ma Hong Jun." Dai Mubai spat out this name from between his teeth. Feng Ge, save me." Ma Hongjun screamed and ran towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng silently retreated a few steps and looked up at the sky. Needles won't poke. Living in this forest, needles won't poke. The others also looked up at the sky. Feng Gu is right. The environment in this forest is very good. Needles won't poke. Although they felt that Feng Gu seemed to have mispronounced really good, it still had a certain charm when he said it like that. Beside everyone, Dai Mubai grabbed Ma Hongjun and fiercely hammered him. Fatty, you're really itching for a beating. Now that you're a little stronger, you actually don't put me in your eyes. Today, I'll teach you a good lesson. Feng Gu, save me. Boss Dai is bullying the weak. Ma Hongjun shouted loudly. Go on and shout. Today, it's useless even if you shout until your throat breaks. Today, I'll let you know what a soul ancestor is and what a soul elder is. Dai Mubai grabbed Ma Hongjun and beat him up. Even if Ma Hongjun's soul skills were powerful, Dai Mubai's strength was much stronger than Ma Hongjun's. Chapter 260. The fight was finally over. Under Lin Feng's treatment, Ma Hongjun recovered from his bruised nose and swollen face. He regretted it now, not because he regretted what he said, but because he didn't have a defense-type soul skill. In the battle just now, Ma Hongjun was hit with true damage, but even if Dai Mubai was hit by Ma Hongjun's attack, he wasn't injured at all because he had a soul skill to block it. This was very uncomfortable. However, all in all, everyone was very excited at this moment. Obtaining the soul bone had greatly increased their strength. The master side, Shrek's 7 monsters. Your chances of winning the championship were very high. Now, I can almost be sure that you will be the final champions. But you have to know that this soul bone and many other things were given to you by Lin Feng and his siblings, as well as His Majesty Thanos. I hope that when you grow up in the future, you won't forget these things. The master knew that Lin Feng had given them much more help than the Shrek Academy had given them. Whether it was the meditation room, the soul power control method, the immortal grass, the soul bone, and so on, these things could even turn an ordinary soul master into a genius. At this time, giving them to Dai Mubai and the others was a great kindness, Especially things like the soul bone and the immortal grass, they were really too precious. Even if the titled Douluo obtained them, he might use them first, not to mention giving them to his juniors. Lin Feng remembered that among the juniors in the original work, only Douluo had found a 10,000-year soul bone for Douluo. The main reason was to save her life. Otherwise, Douluo wouldn't have spent so much money to get such a precious soul bone. Previously, in the setting sun forest, Douluo wanted to snatch Lin Feng's wind dragon for the soul bone. Master, don't worry, we definitely won't forget these things. Everyone responded. Ning Rongrong added, My father said that Feng Gu has obtained the eternal friendship of the 7 treasures glazed sect. Although Ning Fengji didn't succeed in recruiting Lin Feng, he had helped Ning Rongrong break through the limits of her martial soul. If anything happened to Lin Feng in the future, the 7 treasures glazed sect would help him. Lin Feng smiled and didn't say much. Instead, he changed the topic. Today, all of you have become stronger. Shall I give you a chance? Challenge me once? Feng Gu, I was just about to say that. Tang Sin nodded excitedly. Of course we're going to challenge them. He no longer wished to surpass Lin Feng. Facing such a strong opponent, Tang Sin only wished to last 3 minutes against Lin Feng. You're right. We're so strong now. We'll definitely be able to last 3 minutes against Feng Gu, Ma Hongjun said confidently. The master smiled and said, It's good for all of you to fight. You can test your strength. Compared to the increase in strength of Tang San and the others, the master wanted to see Lin Feng's strength more. He wondered if the 7 of them could force Lin Feng to use his soul skill since their strength had increased so much. Soon, Lin Feng and the 7 of them arrived at an open space. The 2 sides confronted each other. The master was on the side as a judge, as usual. Begin, the master ordered. The 7 of them quickly possessed their martial souls and pressed against Lin Feng according to the tactics they had practiced against him. Interesting. During this period of time, Tang San and the others should have done special training to deal with him. He had found a few opportunities to attack last time, but all of them had disappeared this time. In any case, They had specially practiced releasing their soul skills for more than half a month. Especially Zhu Zhuqing, who was specifically called out last time. She had worked hard. Not only did she practice by herself, but she also fought with Tang San and even went to the Great Soul Arena to train hard. The master told them not to use the name of Shrek's 7 monsters to fight in the Great Soul Arena, but single combat and double combat were not restricted. During this period, not only Zhu Zhuqing, but basically everyone had been to the Great Soul Arena. It was just a matter of more or less. Feng Ji's reaction is fast. Fatty, use AoE attacks to restrict him. Mubai, don't stop. Fight him in close combat. Xiao Ao, quickly make sausages. Everyone else, attack after eating. Orders came out of Tang San's mouth quickly, and the group resisted Lin Feng's attacks according to the orders. However, all these tactics were targeted at Lin Feng, who they saw last time. And now, Lin Feng had obtained a powerful soul bone, so the strength he displayed naturally had to be increased correspondingly. Facing Dai Mubai and Ma Hongjuan's intertwined attacks, Lin Feng chuckled and flashed in front of Ma Hongjun. That speed was so fast that it even left after images, and Ma Hongjun couldn't react at all. Fatty, how do you want to fly? Lin Feng lifted Ma Hongjuan's collar with his hand and asked with a smile. Fenggo, I don't want to fly. Ma Hongjun wanted to use his soul skill, but before he could use it, Tang Sen kicked him. Lin Feng kicked his butt, and his whole body spiraled into the air, flying to a big tree more than 50 meters away. His speed was so fast that Tang San's blue-silver grass couldn't catch him in time. Feng Ji's speed has increased again. Change of strategy. Xiao Wu used teleport to entangle him. Tang San was shocked and used blue-silver cage on Lin Feng. However, it was all in vain. Lin Feng's current strength was much stronger than before. Dai Mubai still wanted to stop Lin Feng, but Lin Feng's fist came crashing down, and he reacted hastily with a punch. The difference was too great. Like Ma Hongjun, he was sent flying. However, he wasn't flying very fast. Tang Sen used his blue-silver grass to help him adjust his condition under the inertia, and he attacked Lin Feng again. At this time, Xiao Wu teleported to Lin Feng's side and prepared to restrain him. Zhu Zhuqing ate the berserk intestine and seized the opportunity to emerge from Lin Feng's shadow and attack Lin Feng's back. I'm too familiar with your soul skills. They're so old. Lin Feng smiled and easily dodged their attacks. Then, he grabbed Zhu Zhuqing's arm and restrained her with a light pull. On the other side, Xiao Wu chased after him for a second time, but Lin Feng dodged it again. Then, he grabbed Zhu Zhuqing and threw him at Xiao Wu. Bang! The two hugged each other and rolled on the ground. Seeing this scene, Tang Sen knew that they couldn't hold on for 3 minutes. Lin Feng's strength was a level higher than before. Even if he used the same tactic as last time, they couldn't resist. After all, Feng Gu was very familiar with their soul skills. If it was someone who didn't know them and was as strong as Lin Feng, they were confident that they could hold on for 3 minutes. But unfortunately, Lin Feng knew too much about them. He even knew about the soul bone soul skill that they had just obtained. They couldn't use it at all. Even if he fought alone, Lin Feng wasn't afraid of his strongest 8 spider spear at all. This was very uncomfortable. Chapter 261. In the end, they didn't continue fighting. Tang San directly admitted defeat. This won't do. Feng Ji's strength has increased again, and he understands us so well. We can't even last 3 minutes before admitting defeat. In their current situation, they couldn't win. Fighting with Lin Feng didn't have the effect of increasing their combat experience. You guys aren't improving fast enough. Hurry up and complete your soul ancestors. That way, you might be able to last 3 minutes with me, suppressing my strength. Lin Feng realized that he wasn't suppressing his strength enough when fighting with them. He needed to further suppress his strength so that he could fight with them. Feng Gu, it's not that easy to become a soul ancestor. Third brother said that there's still a large amount of medicinal energy left in our bodies that hasn't been digested yet. Under these circumstances, we can only increase 1 level in about a month. I haven't even reached level 38 yet. Ning Rongrong was somewhat depressed. After eating the immortal grass for more than half a month, Ma Hongjun and Zhu Zhuqing were almost level 39. She hadn't even reached level 38 yet. This made her very anxious. Yeah, Fongo. I estimate that I'll need another week to reach level 39. It'll take at least a month for me to reach level 40. Ma Hongjun rubbed his butt as he walked over. Fatty, you talk too much, Ning Rongrong said angrily. On the surface, Ma Hongjun seemed to be complaining. In reality, he was showing off in front of Ning Rongrong. It was really infuriating. Fongo, you actually threw a take chi at me. At this time, Xiao Wu ran over and complained. Behind her, Zhu Zhuqing's expression was rather calm. However, there was a trace of joy in his eyes. Just now, not only was her hand caught by Lin Feng, she was also picked up and thrown out. Although this kind of situation was very common in battle, Zhu Zhuqing felt a little happy that he was facing Lin Feng. Isn't that very normal? Making two people lose their ability to fight in a short period of time is the most efficient way. Lin Feng rubbed his nose. I don't care. You have to treat me to milk tea today. It's super big. Xiao Wu said coquettishly. Drinking milk tea was actually secondary. The main thing was that she hadn't seen Lin Feng for a long time. At this moment, she missed him and wanted to go out and play together. Feng Ge, I was sent flying with a kick. I want to drink too. A big cup is enough. Ma Hongjun added. Fatty, what are you drinking? Be careful that you don't get fat again if you drink too much. Xiao Wu teased. I'm not fat anymore. I won't get fat no matter how much I drink. Ma Hongjun rolled up his sleeves, revealing his muscles. That's it. TSK. Everyone booed. At this moment, Lin Feng realized that it was almost noon. He said, Let's go, I'll treat you to lunch at the most luxurious restaurant in Heavendo City. Feng Ge, you're so generous. I've been to the Heavendo restaurant many times, but I didn't dare to go in because it was too expensive. Today, we have to have a good meal. Ma Hongjun laughed. Although the evil fire in his body was gone, it had become a habit for him to go to brothels. After coming to Heavendo City, he had frequented such places many times. Among everyone present, the one who understood Heavendo City the most was Ning Rongrong and Ma Hongjun. After him was Dai Mu Bai, who often went out with Ma Hongjun. It's nothing. Lin Feng waved his hand and led everyone into the city. In the past, Lin Feng wanted to earn some gold coins to buy soul bones. However, his plans couldn't keep up with the changes. To him, soul bones were no longer a big deal. To him, spending more than 1,000,000 gold coins was a bit of a waste. On the way to the restaurant, Lin Feng gave 1,000,000 gold coins to Tang San. He only needed 200,000 gold coins for his own use. Tang San was still short on money. Recently, he seemed to be researching the possibility of carving soul skills on hidden weapons. This kind of research required a lot of materials. He had already used up most of his tens of thousands of gold coins. Now that he had given 1,000,000 gold coins to him, it could be said that he had made the best use of them. Tang San didn't say any words of thanks. Feng Ge was like a family member, and he didn't need any empty words. Action spoke for everything. He wanted to combine hidden weapons and soul skills through soul tools. Then, he would develop something even stronger. When he founded the Tang sect, he could easily earn a lot of gold coins by selling these weapons. The Heavendo restaurant was indeed the most luxurious restaurant in Heavendo City. Most of the people here were from the royal family. Students from Soul Master Academies like Lin Feng and the others were rarely seen. However, the waitresses here were all well-trained. They welcomed them warmly. It was just that these waitresses' figures were too good. Although their looks were only average, they still attracted the attention of their male compatriots. Hiss! Xiao Wu, why did you pinch me? Tang San suddenly turned around and whispered. He had only stared at someone, but Xiao Wu's reaction was too big. She actually pinched him hard on the waist. Seeing this, the others turned around and made fun of him. Third brother, Xiao Wu is jealous. Ning Rongrong glanced at Lin Feng as she spoke. It's not good to have someone controlling you. Unlike us, who can look at you whenever we want. Isn't that right, Feng Ge? Ma Hongjun chuckled. His gaze was unrestrained. Don't talk nonsense. I was just looking at the nameplates on their chests. Their names are on them. Lin Feng said righteously. Everyone was stunned. How could there be such a thing? This kind of sophistry, no one else could. Dai Mubai silently gave him a thumbs up. Brilliant. The waitresses didn't seem to be dissatisfied with their discussion. They just silently led the way. Soon, they arrived at the main hall. This was a large restaurant. The decorations were dazzling. Everywhere, there were nobles dressed in luxurious clothes. Most of them were soul masters, and there were even people from large families present. This was the first time the Grand Master had come to a place like this. He was a bit uncomfortable. He didn't say anything and just followed silently. Suddenly, he seemed to have discovered something. His body trembled slightly. Let's sit at the innermost table. Lin Feng didn't like being surrounded by people. Even if the Grand Master hadn't said anything, he would have led everyone to the innermost table. It was very difficult for news to spread on the Douluo continent. The Blue Tyrant Academy had changed its name to the Shrek Academy not long ago. Many people in Heavendo City didn't even know of its existence. At this moment, everyone was dressed in student clothes. Walking in this high-end restaurant, they attracted the curiosity of the crowd. They couldn't help but take a few more glances. This time, the Grand Master was even more nervous. His footsteps quickened. Almost no one noticed this small movement. Even if they did, they wouldn't care. However, Lin Feng's senses were very sharp. He could sense that the Grand Master's heartbeat had sped up. Logically speaking, the Grand Master was someone who had seen the world. Even if it was his first time in this kind of restaurant, he shouldn't be so nervous. Even a pauper like Oscar wouldn't be so nervous